So unfortunately, I was right. Thanks for nothing, Carlos Alcaraz. Really let the whole world down, pal. Why in the world was he such an overwhelming favorite? It didn't make sense. I would have never actually bet on Alex Zverev because that would require me enjoying seeing Alex Zverev win, and that will never occur in my life.
I'm upset now because I forgot to bet Zverev. Because I don't
You're
feel,
a monster.
I guess so.
God. Ugh, stunk. Our nation turns its lonely eyes to you, Daniil Medvedev. You're up. Ugh, gross. All right, hi, good morning, Glenn Clark Radio. It's a Wednesday edition of the program. It probably will be a Would You Rather. I have scenarios for Would You Rather Wednesday. The question is, so blame Carlos Alcaraz for the fact that I didn't get here until 9:55 because there's this dip on Jarrettsville Pike where you lose internet. So I try to time it out. And in my mind, I was just hoping to get to the end of the set, hoping that there would be a fifth set. So I'm like, all right, I'll time this out. I'll watch the end of the set, and then I'll go. Thank God it didn't go to like a tie break because there were three different places on Jarrettsville Pike where they were doing road work today. 3!
That's good. Improving the roads.
I guess. Maybe they pick different days. 3 different spots on Jarrettsville Pike where they were doing road work. So thankfully, they didn't wait any longer than I did because I wouldn't have been here at 10 a.m. Which, speaking of which, here's Drew Forrester. Good morning, Drew.
Yeah.
At some point, we have to say, did we do a show? This is disrespectful. At some point, we have to have a conversation about that. Although, in fairness, if he were here, it would be disrespectful too. So. 6, half a dozen. I don't know where I am with all of that. Yeah, so I don't have the scenarios up, but I do have them written down, and I will oh, there he comes in. Nah, we banned that. By the way, Drew's a weirdo. He's like a clot. I thought all of your people don't like Taylor Swift because she promotes the satanic or something like that. I thought your people were out on her. I thought your team didn't like her. What's going on with that?
Bad-mouthing Taylor Swift.
Hang on a second. I'll pull this up in a second.
Worshiper or something?
There's somebody on your team.
Who's my team?
The red team.
The red team.
Yeah, the red
Calvert
team.
Hall, is that what you're talking about?
Exactly right.
Hall?
Yeah, they do wear red. Taylor Swift accused by MAGA Christians of promoting witchcraft and Satanism. I don't know why though. I don't understand.
I listen to all her songs. I don't hear any of
You
that.
don't. Are you sure?
I don't hear.
Yeah, you've listened to all of them.
I don't hear any.
God, did you fall asleep?
She's good, man.
Yeah, she was. There was a time when she was.
Have you seen her?
Yeah. What you mean, like live? No, I've never gone to a
Seen her.
concert.
Like, you can't badmouth her.
What, you think she's pretty? She's pretty. Nobody's gonna argue that.
Oh, here we go. Now you're gonna give me the old.
But she's pretty.
Okay.
Then what did I say? What did I just say, Griffin? Did I say she's pretty?
She's no Margaret.
She's pretty. Well, I mean, she's not the luckiest dang gal on the face of the planet. I know that much. All right, what do you got? What are you doing here? Drew Forrester.
Tonight.
What, Maryland, Iowa?
Yeah.
Sure. Big night. Drew's here. Today's show is brought to you by the Green Turtle. What's going on in the Green?
Kevin Willard the other night.
Did you?
I mean, I did actually.
Just say, you ever plan on getting any players?
No. I said he was standing right at the corner. What's the guy's name? Who's the SID? Good guy.
Jason
Kind
Yellen.
of bald.
Oh,
glasses.
that John Sinnett.
John, yeah. Good man. Talked to him for a second. He brought Kevin out. They were standing like near the corner where the players come in, and I was standing right there because the press box is there, and Dale was writing, and I was kind of standing there, and I look over, and there's Kevin Willard standing there. John's texting, and I said, hang in there, Coach.
You didn't do the thing you did with Brad Stevens? You
No.
didn't go over
I
to try to get
looked over and said,
a high five on the...
Hang in there, Coach. And he said, quote, appreciate it. That's all we can do.
There you go.
And
Thanks.
I felt like that was pretty telling.
Thanks for getting us the scoop.
But I felt like that was pretty telling.
I think. Well, I mean, what is he supposed to say?
Right.
Hey, it'd be nice if I had a fourth player who could score.
Well, the funniest part was the two big, tall, white guys from Michigan State the other day were terrible. If we had anyone who could have remotely gone toe-to-toe with
I don't know. The one kid actually played well in the second half.
No.
Yeah, he did.
They're both terrible.
Yeah, he did.
You're
That
talking about
kid-
Cooper or the,
yeah, Cooper.
or the
Cooper
Serbian
played okay.
kid?
Cooper played okay.
They're both terrible. But I was really disappointed in Izzo. I felt like going over to Izzo afterwards and saying,
Because you bet on him?
hey, Tom.
Yeah.
No, they actually covered.
Oh.
I think. Well, I heard. I don't know.
Yeah, you heard.
I
They
felt
did,
like
yeah.
saying to Izzo, like, "Hey Tom, what's up with the new approach here? Like, you didn't strangle anyone. He got in that Akins kid's grill pretty good.
I imagine you're the type that's bothered by coaches that don't wear suits. I imagine
it's funny you say that.
you're bothered when you see someone show up wearing a tracksuit.
I think it's the short answer is yes, but I think but I think it's different when there's because they do it in December when they all wear sneakers and stuff like that, and both coaches do it. It looked distinctly odd the other day when Willard and his staff were all dressed up, and Izzo's staff looked like they were going to the AAU game.
But which one of them won?
I know,
So
but
might be time for everybody to ditch
it
the
just
suits.
bothered me that Izzo didn't yell, he didn't scream, he didn't strangle anybody.
I don't think they're supposed to do that
He
anymore.
worked. Oh, we don't do that anymore.
I'm pretty sure.
Those days are over.
Yeah.
He worked.
I don't know what you're doing at Calvert Hall,
He
but
worked
maybe I would
he
take that
worked-
out of the.
Well, we just lost to boys Latin,
Well,
so
then,
maybe we should.
You know what? I take it back. Might be time.
He worked the refs pretty good. I'd give him credit there.
Yeah.
He works them pretty good. And he did get into Akins kid a bunch. Like, he really lit that kid up a couple times. But it was a weird game.
I can't believe Drew 3 days later. It's the week of the AFC Championship game, and he came in to talk about the Maryland-Michigan State game. Drew, when everybody else in town stopped caring about Maryland basketball, when Maryland basketball mattered, Drew loathed talking about them. Drew hated the idea of talking about when people cared, when people were watching the games. Now everybody stopped, and Drew was like, you know who's interesting to me? I'm going to watch the Maryland basketball team.
I had
Let's
an
talk
epiphany.
about it. Yeah? You had an epiphany.
I've been missing out.
Is that what it is?
FOMO.
That's what it is.
FOMO.
All right.
I finally figured it out.
I need to do a commercial.
If you're bullish on the Terps, like Drew, I guess is
Not
maybe
tonight, I'm
okay. Okay.
I'll take Iowa.
Put a Big Ten championship bet in for him because you get a free bet at the Green Turtle every Thursday. They just added live in-person sports betting, so every Thursday at the Green Turtle Sportsbooks in Towson and Canton, they're offering you a free $10 bet on whatever you would like, and you can experience the ultimate destination for game day excitement, great food, and live in-person betting. Plus, tomorrow at Canton, Jeremy Kahn will be down there shooting a commercial, and everyone that shows up, because they need extras for the commercial, so everyone that shows up gets a free $10 bet for just being an extra in the commercial that Jeremy Kahn's shooting tomorrow in Canton.
Very nice.
That's, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah.
So check out the Green Turtle Bet Park Sportsbooks in Towson, Canton. Go pick up your free bets, make some money while enjoying some food and sports.
Do me a favor. I'm told that the YouTube, the volume might be low. Can you dive into that and see if we can't work on that, whatever that issue might be? I appreciate it.
You excited?
About the game? About
We're about to 100.
well,
I've been telling you
you
that for
put it
3
at
years.
75. That's what we put it at. You haven't been telling. We haven't had it for 3 years. What are we doing? All right. I can't believe you didn't. Of all of the topics, that I have never been more certain that you were going to write about a topic. That only to find out that you didn't. I don't know what you wrote about, some golf thing that nobody knows about today. I can't believe you didn't write about this thing with the ref on Sunday. I can't believe you didn't write about that today.
What happened? I'm not sure.
Are you not? Do you not know? This was big on Ravens Twitter yesterday. You know who Shawn Smith is?
Yeah.
I went to middle school with a kid named Shawn Smith.
I bet you know it's a common name.
Wasn't Shawn Smith also the lead singer for Brad?
Is that true? The side project of which guy from Pearl Jam was in Brad?
Look it up.
Which guy from Pearl Jam was in the band Brad?
So Shawn Smith just died about 5 years ago.
All right,
I'm
hang
pretty
on a
sure.
second.
He looks like Joe Cocker.
Stone Gossard was in Brad. That's who it was.
Shawn Smith, he died.
Yeah, he was, and he died in 2019. Look
He
at
was
that.
a great. That band was great.
Mm-hmm.
Shawn Smith was great.
Okay.
But you're not talking about that Shawn Smith.
Not that Shawn Smith.
Tell me about the other one.
Not the former NFL cornerback Shawn Smith either. NFL ref Shawn Smith will be working the Ravens game
I knew
on
about
Sunday.
this. Who cares? Please.
You of all people. You of all people.
Okay, keep going.
What do you,
I didn't know I was coming here to get beat up.
What do
Keep
you know?
going.
What do you know about Shawn Smith?
He's like got some crazy record for calling for favoring the road teams.
He does. Correct. He has a crazy propensity for calling more penalties on home teams than on road teams.
Well, that's probably because his counterparts all call the game in favor of the home teams. And he finally decided.
This, by the way.
He finally decided, I'll switch it up.
So you think he's the only fair referee?
I don't know. I don't know if any of them are fair.
So you think?
But I'm not worried about
you of all
We're
people.
not. The Ravens aren't.
You
losing.
are the biggest conspiracy theorist that I know.
When it comes to sports, you mean?
Yes. And you think nothing of this.
You're thinking the NFL's doing this because they want Taylor Swift in the Super Bowl?
I don't think anything of it. I honest to God, thought this would be perfect today because you would be the one flying off the handle, and I would be the one saying I don't care.
But
I'm so
why
taken
did they
aback.
send him? What did he grade out well? Like, I'd have to ask them, why did you send him? There's all these referees. Why him? Did he grade out well during the season? Like, I'm not willing to buy into. Here's how I would buy into it. If he graded out terribly, then I would buy into it. But if he graded out during the season to be one of the top 4 referees in the league, well, I wouldn't buy into it at all. I'd say he earned his way in. He got, everything we do these days gets evaluated times 10. PFF, PRF, PFE. It's all, everybody gets evaluated. If he evaluated high, he earned his way in. If he was lousy and he's in, then I would say, I don't know, let's talk about that a little bit.
You don't think it's odd that one referee calls significally more penalties on home teams?
Did you read any of Warren Sharp's article?
I did. Warren Sharp was so conspiracy theorist about it that I can't.
Do I believe it's odd that a referee calls more penalties against a home team than a road team? I guess my answer to that is, A, is that true, right? Like, this is sort of like the polls of all these elections. Like, all these people earlier in the week saying, Nikki Haley's got a great chance to beat.
No one said that. You're making that up.
You didn't let me finish. Nikki Haley's got a great chance to win in South Carolina. She's gonna. This is her home state. She's gonna lose by 40 points. Like, so, but her people went out and asked 24 people who they were voting for, and 16 of them said Nikki Haley, and they all of a sudden said, we got this thing locked up. So I'd have to know if this data's true. Is this data true? Is he the only referee in the league? Or is he one of 4 or 6? Or is he the only ref?
I don't have those stats.
Is the data accurate? Because anything published by the media has the chance to not be right.
Okay, now you're just doing shtick.
But that's the truth.
It's not.
It's not shtick.
It's shtick. It's shtick. You're doing a bit.
No, I'm not.
No, you are.
Is it true?
I don't have other comparisons to other ref.
Now, if it's true,
then
do I find that odd that only one referee out of, I don't even know how many there are. There are 50? I don't even know how many there are. But if there are 50 people who, I know there's 8 on the field or however many there are, which is insane. But how many of them are head referees?
Well, right. There's only so many.
Are there
presumably, if there's 16 home games a week, it feels like there couldn't be more than 20 lead referees, right?
Yeah, because you don't work every week, probably. You need a week off here and there.
But I think they work most weeks.
Okay.
I don't think they get
so
many.
Maybe there's 20.
Yeah.
Right? Maybe there's 20 in case somebody tears their ACL or something. If he's the only one out of 20 with this indisputable record of favoring the visiting team, do I find that odd? Absolutely. In the same way, I would find it odd that 19 of the 20 favor the home team. I would also find that odd.
I would.
It can't work both ways.
Okay, except for the fact that it would seem obvious that pre-snap penalties in particular are more likely on the road than they are at home. Communication is more difficult.
Okay, fair enough. I don't really count those, but
I think that's what this is based on.
I do get it that they get factored in. So there again, this is really this discussion, and it's a good one, but this discussion is all about the data that's accumulated. Are we talking about real penalties? Does he call holding more on the home team than the road team? if he does, then okay, we and 19 of the other 20 call more holding on the road team than the home team. I still find that odd. You're telling me that I would think this, and this will be an interesting exercise because I don't know the answer to this, and I could be proved totally wrong on this. What's the Garrett? Look this up. What's the
You got to give him credit. The fact that he so quickly comes up with a fake name every time. You got to give him some credit for that.
I heard you on the air, by the way, the other night.
Thanks.
What's the
I think.
Give me the order of.
He didn't say you were good.
Right. Give me the rankings of the penalties for the season. NFL penalty rankings. Who had the most penalty? Give me that. Give me the top
By the ref
Like
or
most
by the
penalized
team.
team.
No,
Yeah.
just the league stat penalties per game.
The Raiders were the most penalized team. this
Okay,
season.
they were terrible. Who else? Go.
Bengals.
Yeah, they were okay.
Oh, actually, sorry.
it's the opposite of
Yeah,
that,
the opposite.
yes.
Sorry, Vegas was the least.
I went the most.
The Jets. Texans. Texans were the second
Okay,
most.
keep going. That's a
Dallas,
asterisk.
Cleveland,
Another asterisk.
Seattle.
They were okay.
Titans, Panthers,
Terrible,
Bills.
terrible.
Bills were top 8.
Who? Bills.
Yeah.
Okay, keep going.
Packers, Niners were top 10.
Okay, so some of my
There's a lot of good teams that were among the most penalized teams.
right. So that negates what I was going to say. I was going to say the worse you are, the more penalties you get.
Ravens are top 12.
Because you're not as talented. But anyway, I do think it's a
6 of the 10 most penalized teams this year were playoff
playoff
teams.
team. Okay, so that negates what I was going to say. And then in some ways, maybe it supports the point that it's.
This is ironic. All the top 5 least penalized teams were not playoff teams.
So what's that tell you?
I don't know. You better
Got to be
You
more
ain't-
aggressive.
if
More
you-
aggressive.
if you ain't
You
cheating,
ain't trying.
You ain't
Yeah, that's a
trying.
great point.
So I hear you, and I'm not. When I'm about to say, I'm not trying to stir the pot. Like this is what Ravens fans do. They always do this. They always look for something like this. They always look for the disrespect card. Always.
Yeah, there's some of that.
This is what we do. Honestly.
There's a weird line
Let's be
because
honest.
this all started with something that Warren
But wait a
Sharp.
minute. But let me just say this.
Well, you've been talking for a while. I get to talk too. It's
hold
my
on.
show.
Really?
Yes. Yeah.
Colson,
No, we haven't had that conversation yet.
Colson and
Real
Dyer.
weird.
You, in the same way that Ravens fans find it odd that they're sending this guy in, I find it odd that 19 of the 20 call in favor of the home team.
That I disagree. I inherently home teams have advantages, and this is I really wish somebody would present more data here. This was all based on hullabaloo from Warren Sharp, who for a long time I have respected for his analytical thought, but this was
musician?
No,
Oh, it's Warren Haynes.
There's a lot of Warrens. Warren Zevon was a musician. I mean, there's
know
lots
that.
of lots of those. Warren, what he wrote is laughable. Like it's
What did he write?
embarrassing
What
for
did he
him.
write?
Home teams have won only 40.8% of games in the last 3 years with Smith as referee. This is the lowest win rate for any referee in the NFL. Across the NFL, home teams have won 55.4% of games during that span. With Smith, the rate precipitously drops down to 40.8%. Maybe the road teams are just much better in the games he is assigned to call. I hoped that was the case, but then I looked at the great equalizer, the point spread. This point spread takes into account which team is better, because as everyone knows, everyone who's favored in a football game always wins and covers the spread, right? Like, that's always known. Across the NFL in the last 3 seasons, home teams have covered 49.4% of spreads. That means that even if home teams are winning only 40.8% of games under Smith, we hopefully would find that they're still covering close to 50%. Well, if they're not winning that many games and they're favored, then that math ain't going to work, Chief. That wasn't close to being the case. Under Smith, home teams are only 17, 29, and 3 against the spread, 37% in the last 3 years. That's the second lowest mark.
Now you are getting me pissed
among
off. I'm going to write about it
And
tomorrow.
he pointed out that Clete Blakeman, who is the NFC Championship ref, favors home teams apparently. It has
So
the-
and then
Okay,
they
but
put
so-
like
so what-
he
so-
put like a picture on his website with Taylor Swift and
Yes.
like clearly
It was
trying to
clickbaity.
draw
Well, I called that one 2 weeks
like
ago.
the idea
I
that
said if they get to the Super Bowl, it will be the conspiracy theory of 2023, 24. If the Chiefs get there, I said this 3 weeks ago. If the Chiefs get there, the conspiracy theory
clearly
will,
the NFL was
be
able
the
to get
NFL.
Josh Allen to throw the ball
Right.
on the ground on
Like a moron at
third
the end
down
of the
again,
Tyler
right?
Bass.
Yeah, obviously that was the way
Okay,
that it
kid.
went.
But here's the thing. I keep going back to
Slice.
this. to me, and first of all, let's admit this. Even though we all know the league's run by gambling, let's admit this: the point spreads don't mean jack. What Las Vegas thinks about who should win by how many points has zero to do. I know what he's trying to say, and this would have been my question. Of the games this guy has refereed, and let me give you these 5 games.
Mm-hmm.
Who would win a game tomorrow between the Ravens and the Panthers?
I'm going to guess the Ravens would win.
Who would win a game tomorrow between the Ravens and the Jets?
Probably the Ravens.
Who would win a game tomorrow between the Ravens and the Chiefs?
I think the Ravens.
But it depends. ...
Mm-hmm.
Who would win a game tomorrow between the Ravens and the Cowboys?
And the Ravens.
Okay, you think that confidently.
Yeah.
But so my
it depends. Is it a game that matters?
But my point is,
Because if not, the Cowboys have a chance.
But my point is, maybe, Shawn Smith refereed
games,
a lot of Ravens versus Chiefs games,
right,
and not a lot of Ravens versus Panthers.
Totally
games.
Possible. It's totally possible.
Or the other way around.
But that's what.
No, wait. It would be the other way around. Maybe he did a lot of the Ravens Panthers games, where the Ravens were going to win no matter if you refereed. Maybe Shawn Smith in all of this data. And that's kind of what he's trying to say with the point spread thing. I get it. What he's trying to say is...
But his premise doesn't work.
No. His premise might not work. Mine's going to work. Because if Shawn Smith refereed 10 games where the road team was favored by 5.5 or more, the likelihood of those road teams winning, forget covering, the likelihood of those teams winning, I think would probably be 70%. You understand what I'm saying?
That smells right.
So let's figure out if he's refereeing only Ravens versus Bengals, Ravens versus Steelers, Ravens versus Browns, and the road team won 7 of those 10 with him, I do think that would be weird. But if he's refereeing Ravens versus Panthers, or Chiefs versus Raiders, or Cowboys versus Redskins, the road team's going to win all those.
I'm trying to pull up the games that he ref this year. Just for the fun of the exercise.
So that would be interesting.
Right? Like, just for the... I can't believe we're doing this. I can't
Well, I can tell you, I'm changing my bet.
Yeah? All of a sudden you're in on Kansas City now? You're going to go the other way?
Scratch that Ravens plus
you
500.
Are you posting a picture that Drew's here? We're good. I want people to... If they see him, they'd be less inclined.
Post
you can picture a picture of the delicious Royal Farms coffee. I'm on board with that.
Hold on.
Everybody
It's better
I just think it's good to send out a tweet that we're live.
Take one more, 'cause I wanna-
Did you figure out the YouTube thing?
It should be louder now.
All right.
I wanted to have my number 1 finger up. All right, go ahead. But just for Royal Farms.
Okay, well, take a picture of him holding his finger up.
I did. What? Oh, his finger?
Yes, he wants to have a number 1 in his coffee. It's a special boy that wants a special picture. So please go ahead and do that for him.
Get the Coward Hall logo in there, right?
First game he reffed this year was the Rams at the Seahawks, a 30-13 win for the Rams.
Okay.
Second game he reffed this year was the Dolphins at the Patriots, a 24-17 win for the Patriots. So far,
the Patriots beat the Dolphins?
Yeah.
No. Did I say that?
Yeah.
All right, then I definitely didn't mean to say that.
Okay.
Definitely a win for the Dolphins on the road.
Okay.
So far the road teams are 2-0, but we would say one of them, the Dolphins, were clearly better than the Patriots. And the other one, kind of 50-50 Rams and Seahawks, particularly at that point of the season. There was no Cooper Kupp. I don't know which one we would say was better at that point.
Okay.
Third game of the year was also a win for the road team. The Chargers going to Minnesota and beating the Vikings 28-24.
Okay.
They were both bad.
Okay.
Like, I don't know what
that
to
was
make
their
of
first
that.
win for Chargers.
Weren't they both winless at that point?
I just said it was the first win.
I know,
for
but
Herbie
weren't they both winless at that point? Yeah.
That was Herbie's first win.
Herbie. Oh, Justin Herbert. Is that a thing? You're doing a pet name thing with Justin Herbert?
Have you seen him?
He's.
headband on?
I don't know, man.
That's not your thing?
I think he's. He looks like he's
kind of
16.
greasy,
Yeah,
kind of like take a showery kind of guy.
He had the Titans pounding the Bengals at home. So that was the. By the way, for what it's worth, only 3 home teams won games that Shawn Smith ref this year.
Okay.
Jaguars on the road at the Bills.
Okay.
Browns on the road
Well,
at the Colts.
I was in London.
Was that in London?
That game was in London.
If you say so. I don't know how you remember that.
Guarantee it was
I thought the Jaguars game in London was
25-20.
Oh, they played 2 this year,
25-20 was the final.
They played. How much did you bet on that game? How much? How much you bet on
my
the
new
game?
car?
Yeah. How much you How much you bet? I forgot the Jaguars played too because they played the Falcons as well in London. The Browns at the Colts. The Browns are winners.
I think that was the game Dorian Thompson-Robinson won the
that might be right.
Well, Myles Garrett won the game, but yeah.
The Jets at the Giants. The Jets are winners. Vikings at the Falcons. Vikings winners. Lions at the Chargers. Lions winners. Eagles at the Chiefs. Eagles winners. Rams at the Cardinals. Rams winners. So to your point, there's not one in there that stands out as like this road team was significantly worse than this home team, and yet they went on the road and won the game, and how did that happen? There's nothing that stands out.
Okay, so then now you got to dig deeper if you really are going to buy into this.
I don't.
You got to dig deeper
I was really
and
hoping,
look at the penalties.
Yeah, the point of this is I was hoping you were.
You're going to look at the penalties.
Yeah.
And you're going to say, well, the Rams won 30-13, and they only had 2 penalties for 10 yards. Isn't that weird? Like, you know what I mean? Now you got to look at it.
The Chargers-Vikings game, the Chargers were only penalized 6 times while the Vikings were penalized 12 times.
Okay, so stop. How many of those did he call?
Yeah, I don't have that data in front of me.
So this is you. Again, I hate to throw this card out because people get pissed off. Like, this is what we do. We look for these signs of disrespect. Ravens fans, we get disrespected over everything. And they said the other night Brock Purdy might still be an MVP
What is
candidate.
happening here with Drew's trying to be the voice of reason? What the F is going on in the world?
So
what is happening?
The other night during the playoff game, they mentioned Brock Collinsworth or somebody said something about Purdy still being a legitimate, so he's still being mentioned in the MVP talks, and everybody went crazy, right? But that's just Collinsworth saying that because he has to say it because they're showing the 49ers in the Packers.
But I disagree about that. I don't care, right? But I'll disagree about that. That is disingenuous from Chris Collinsworth. And that's embarrassing for NBC, and that's embarrassing for the league.
You don't think he was involved in the
There's a way to present that.
Oh, okay.
For much of the season, Brock Purdy was in the
said. I mean,
if that's what he said, then no problem. But if what he said is there's still a chance he could be MVP, then that's wrong.
But anyway, we get disrespected by all this. So we get disrespected by this referee, and we don't even dig into the actual contents of it. We're just conspiracy theory. Shawn Smith's coming. We're going to lose, and the league wants it that way. You got to look at this now. That game in particular, 6 penalties to 12. That's worth investigating. Now let's find out who called the 12.
Right. Well, and as a lot of people have pointed out, even if you wanted to buy into this conspiracy, this isn't the same crew that he worked with during the regular season.
And this also might help the Ravens now that it's been exposed, because
there might be a call this week like, hey,
let's go up to him before the game and go, hey, what's up there?
Yeah, no, we're watching you. We just want you to know we're watching you. Like, we're gonna
I can guarantee. I don't know the specifics of this, but that at every timeout, people always say this. What's the assistant coach say? Why is the assistant coach going over there to the referee? He goes over to say to the ref, dude, every time Drew Brees gets the ball,
you notice?
he double steps.
Yep.
Every time. Are you going to call it or not? And then, ironically, on the next possession, Juju gets called for traveling, right? Like, that's what these people do. They put things in the ref's head. I'm sure John's going to put it in his head before the game. Had a tough week, huh, Shawn? Had a tough week, haven't you?
Yeah, beaten up a little bit, huh?
Getting beaten up, huh?
Yeah.
I feel bad. I feel bad for you because I have a lot of respect for you.
Yeah, I imagine we're probably not going to want to give too much favor to the road team today. Imagine that might be something you don't want to do.
Shawn, I know you've had a tough week, huh?
Getting beat up by all these people.
I've had a lot of respect for you. I think, in fact, I just told Steve last night when we were having dinner, I think you're one of the best in the league.
Yeah, you're definitely one of the best. Well, that's what. So, again, hoping that I was going to get some conspiracy theory out. You've really let me down today. In fairness, that's no different than any other time. It's just a different way of letting me down. I was prepared for your shtick today, and then you didn't even do your shtick. You did other shtick today.
I didn't do any shtick.
No, you did the media shtick. So I had Griffin.
That's not.
I had Griffin reach out to some.
None of these things these people say is
for God's
legitimate.
sakes, would you stop it?
You're the only honest guy around.
Is that? Yeah. Oh, we are in trouble. We are in trouble. I had Griffin reach out to some former refs to see if they would come on the show today. And one will. Former ref Jim Daopoulos is going to join us a little bit later on. But former ref Jeff Triplett sent a missive that he wanted us to know. Jeff Triplett said, Shawn is a quality person and an outstanding referee. I've known him since back in his Big Ten days and worked with him on the field in the NFL for several seasons. He is respected by his peers, players, and coaches as one whose crews let players play, coaches coach, calls only what needs to be called, and when they call something, call it right.
Jeff Triplett said that?
Jeff Triplett said about Shawn Smith.
To you?
To
or just in general?
Griffin. He said that to Griffin when Griffin reached out to ask if he tell your Ravens listeners they got one of the best calling their game on Sunday. So,
and by the way, take the Chiefs.
and again, now everything that Drew just said about I don't know about this after he heard it from Jeff Triplett, he's like, well,
now let's take.
Might have to pivot here.
Definitely take the Chiefs. You know, that honky-tonk man is a good guy.
Yeah.
He'll never throw salt in your eyes when you're not looking. Mr. Fuji, he's a quality individual. Don't you worry about him. That steel chair, he ain't never hitting you with that.
No doubt. No doubt. Oh, man. All right. The Goose Flights is available now at there's a new location where Goose Flights is available. Goose Flights has always been available at Guilford Hall Brewery in Station North and at Costas Inn in both cans and six-packs. Also available at your neighborhood Glory Days Grill in cans. But starting today, you can get six-packs and cases of Goose Flights for your tailgate party this weekend at the Wine Source in Hamden. 3601 Elm Avenue. It's a great liquor store.
Hamden Hun.
Sure, 100%. I've been there a few times.
You have good wine there, actually.
When I used to work in Hamden, I made quite a few stops at the Wine Source.
Very good wine there.
So the Wine Source, you can now find Goose Flights, which, of course, is our partnership. Pressbox, Guilford Hall partnered up with Tony Saragusa's family to do a really cool, not only is the beer delicious, but also on time. And you tried the beer. You enjoyed the beer.
It was the first beer I've had in a year. It was great.
On top of the beer being delicious, it's a collector's can that you're going to want to have at home. And $1.98 from every can sold goes to the Goose Flights Foundation to continue the legacy of Tony Saragusa and how they're providing non-emergency medical transport for those in need. I don't know what you're doing, but
it took everything.
PressBoxOnline.com/gooseflights.
It took everything I had last week when his daughter was in there. It took everything I had to not say nice cans. I'll be here all week. We got two shows on Friday.
I said to myself, you know what I can count on? I'll get Drew going. He'll do his conspiracy theory shtick.
Man.
Then he didn't do it.
Two shows
and
on
I
Friday.
said maybe Drew's
7 and 9.
Maybe Drew's turned the corner. Maybe it's a new day
I took
for Drew Forrester.
I didn't do it because you know why? Because of my respect for you.
Yeah. When did that start?
I had too much respect for you.
When did that start?
And Colson.
Yeah.
Because I just had I just knew like this was a serious moment.
Hey, I bet you appreciated being on the birthday cake from the Odyssey Corporation.
Oh my God. That was so funny.
I don't want to go too. It was a small mistake on the. It's just a small one.
Happy birthday, Zin.
All right.
So I was going to say something else. Oh God.
You're going Saturday.
I bet Tyler Nevin's
or Sunday.
back, huh?
Yeah, Tyler Nevin's back. Sure. You're going Sunday.
Oh yeah.
You're throwing the party. Yeah.
got,
Mrs. Clark is going to hang out with.
Oh yeah.
God.
Oh yeah.
It's a bit of a controversy.
Is her mom coming?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't screw up my future plan.
No, I'm excited. I got a good group of 60 coming, and I can't say this enough and like try not to get like semi emotional about it. And I said this to my son.
Are you taking him?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I said this to him last week. The final seconds are ticking off, and I said, you have no idea what you're going to see on Sunday, because I don't know what I'm going to see. He's like, what do you mean? I said, you've seen everything. I said, I have never seen this. I have seen everything.
Well, you were alive when it happened before.
You were one of the few.
But you have to be 1,000 years old.
No, I was, but I don't. Yeah. I have no recollection of it at all.
Right.
Zero. I do remember watching that Super Bowl. I remember sitting on the floor of my house in Glenmurray and watching Jim O'Brien kick that field goal. I do remember that, but I don't remember the championship game at all. And I said to Ethan, like, I've never seen this, and neither of you, and neither has anyone else really, other than if you're 75, you might have a vivid memory of 1971. But other than that, if you're 60 or 65, you probably don't remember it. And a part of this, it's so hard to shake this because of the baseball team. And someone said to me last night on Twitter, somebody got into got into something last night with people about the ticket prices, which is a whole other story. And I don't want to say the Ravens were shameful yesterday in the way that went down, because there's a lot of moving parts to what happened yesterday. But I think people were misled. I think people thought they were buying tickets yesterday at face value. And it was never going to be face value. But while that story was brewing last night, someone said to me, "You're nuts if you spend $1,500 or $2,000 on a football game." To which my response was, it's all relative to what you can afford. I had a friend the other night who bought and opened a bottle of $800 wine right in front of me. I'll take that bottle of wine. I looked at the thing. I'm like, dude, that's $800. He buys it. She pours it. We drink it. It's awesome. And to him, $800 is like $10 to me.
Yeah.
So the pricing of the tickets is neither here nor there. But one of the things he said at the end really struck me. He said, people are not smart enough to know this is the first of many of these. Why spend $2,000 on this one? And my response to him was, you must be 35 years old.
You have no idea, yeah.
Because when I was on that fence at Memorial Stadium in 1983, watching those buses come in at 1:30 in the morning with Chris Evans and Pete McQuaid and Tony Willock and Bruce Hand, I thought,
yep, you're going to be doing World Series
I'll be seeing these
forever,
for the next 15 years.
100%.
And I have not been back yet since. So that's why this game on Sunday is really, really important or special to me. And the only thing left now on my little personal bucket list would be to see a World Series game in Baltimore, because I did see those, but I'd like to see another.
So this is interesting to me because I don't know.
This game, by the way, is way more important to me than when we were there in New Orleans.
See, it's so interesting you brought that up. I don't know that we're going to do a full Would You Rather Wednesday. I don't know if I'm going to put them up on social media or not. But one of the questions that I come up with, it's interesting because of this. Would you rather, let's just say you didn't have tickets for Sunday, right?
Okay.
Would you rather be gifted a $2,000 lower level seat for Sunday's game or $2,000 to put towards the Super Bowl trip?
1,000,000% this game.
That's fascinating.
1,000,000%.
But is it because you've seen it before?
Because I've seen the Super Bowl?
Yes.
No, and here's why. Like, I don't even consider what we did at New Orleans. It's going to sound weird. Like, I don't even consider it watching the game. We were there at the game, but we were working and invested in it, and you couldn't cheer, and I think we were sober. Like,
One night when we were in New Orleans, Drew and I got food drunk. This is a straight shoot. Drew and I ate so much food at a party in New Orleans one night that we looked at each other and said, we can't move. And we went back and sat in the hot tub. Well, this is I've never
till like 2:30 in the morning.
I
had to be on the air at 5.
I've had a lot of phenomenons in my life, but I have never felt the way that I felt in that moment. And I was terrified that no one would understand, that everybody,
right.
What, you got to go sit on the toilet? Like, what's the deal? Like, we just felt drunk. I felt like I was incapacitated, and I didn't drink at all. I mean, maybe we had a beer or something, but like it was all from food. I'm starting to walk away, and I see Drew, because we're at the same party, and Drew looks at me and he said,
"Gotta go,
dude. I'm feeling something." I'm like, "Are you food drunk?"
I gotta leave.
We were food drunk. We could not function. We were.
And the next day, I saw Jonathan Kane and Neil Schoen on the elevator.
That's right.
Said,
That's right.
"Hey, what's up, Journey?
Right.
How you guys doing?"
100%.
So.
But you're going with your son. It's a completely different thing too that you're going with your son. It really is, because I've gotten
maybe, but it's also just the idea of being down there and being in this environment where you're the only game left, other than the other one in the NFC. This is it. This is the only place in America on Sunday that the AFC is playing. This is it. So there is something to be said about just being there and being part of it. And I don't know what my price tag would be for the game. I have no idea. I was very fortunate. I got in very early with the Ravens, and I'm very fortunate that I didn't have to spend $1,500. I don't know what I would spend. I spent $1,500 to play Pebble Beach, Spyglass, and Spanish Bay. That was worth it to me. I don't know that I would spend $1,500 to go down there on Sunday because it is a lot of money to me. But to some people, it's not a lot of money at all. And those tickets that are left now that are still $1,500 plus, I'm very interested to see on Sunday at noon what the ticket prices are.
Do they crash one more time before
because
the
right
game
now
starts?
they're through the roof.
Correct.
And yesterday, and I know
and-
a lot of people were pissed off about yesterday. The only people that were pissed off yesterday are people that don't understand how ticketing works and also don't understand how the ticketing works as it relates to the teams and their ticket partner. And things have changed dramatically with the Ravens and SeatGeek much differently than they were with the Ravens and Ticketmaster. So yesterday was a prime example. Those tickets that were $3.99 when you first jumped on, they were $3.99. Those were $175 tickets that got marked up and then were plus. And those tickets weren't owned by the team. They're in the market to make money on these tickets.
So the only issue that I thought was real yesterday, like legitimate issue, was, and far be it for me to be one that would praise Ticketmaster, was that I'm to understand the process, and I just went through it for the sake of going, just because
You didn't know there was a plus till the very end.
No, that part I don't really care about all that much because I think that was about if you get in a $3.99 ticket, look around, like you did well.
Well, you didn't pay $3.99.
But yeah, because you have all the fees. I understand.
Right. Or whatever it was.
But they're not cheaper somewhere else. It's not.
No, correct.
So that part didn't bother me
You
at all.
can get a face value ticket.
Right.
It's very easy.
Right.
Be a season ticket holder or a
Correct.
sponsor of the
Correct.
team.
On Tuesday you could have gotten those.
Right.
Or Monday you could have gotten those, whatever day it was. So the only issue that was with the system, you would click on a ticket. In Ticketmaster, you click on a ticket, it's now your right to buy the ticket. You have 5 minutes to complete the purchase. You clicked on a ticket and said, I want those tickets, and then you went to another screen and it said, sorry, you can't have those tickets. And it did it repeatedly. That's a bad system. That's not a...
I also would say this, and this probably is illegal, so I don't even know if you could do this. I would assume a lot of those tickets yesterday were tickets that were purchased on Monday and then flipped. That's what I would assume.
I believe they had a mechanism in place to get rid of those, right? Like that when you looked at what tickets were available, there was a mechanism for you to only look at the ones that were originally posted on Tuesday. Within their operation, there was a button you could click.
That would be awesome if that were the case.
Right. Well,
but I don't believe that. I think if you bought one of those tickets on Tuesday,
right,
you could flip that ticket.
Oh, you mean if you as a PSL holder,
correct,
bought for Monday, you absolutely could do that. I'm saying that on yesterday when you signed in,
I'm getting my days mixed up, by the way. Monday,
yeah, I know.
Was the
I
day.
did the same thing
so,
too.
So here's what I'm. So hear me out. I don't think it's right, and again, this could be illegal, and it's not the American way, capitalism, and all that other stuff. I don't think it's right that you bought that ticket on Monday and flipped it on Tuesday.
Yeah, and I don't agree with that.
I don't think that's right.
I mean, right is a really funny word in that way, right? Like
I guess I'll rephrase it. I would like to see the Ravens come up with a way functionally within their system to not allow for it.
Yeah, that would be neat. Like, I would agree with that. That would be neat. But
you bought it for $175 on Monday,
right?
Because you're a PSL holder, and
right.
I get that.
But what I would
and then you're flipping it for $600.
What I would say back
I
is
but I get it.
For the person that sold it, it is their right. It's their asset. They have it.
Understood. That is what ticketing is.
You can do whatever
you want
to do.
But again, I'll go back to the whole premise behind ticketing. You can always get a face value ticket. Always. Anyone who says you can't, you're wrong. You can. But you have to either be a season ticket holder or a sponsor, or, and I'll use Springsteen, or you got to be a American Express card holder, and we'll get you in. You can always get one. The question is, are you able to get one? And if you're not, then you should just be aware. You're never going to pay face value. You just never. You're never going to find a ticket for face value on the secondary market. They don't exist. Now, what will be interesting on Sunday is to see how many of these upper deck tickets that right now are $700 are $400.
Yeah, I'd be interested by that.
Here's the other thing I would say to people. Anybody who's interested in going and doesn't want to spend a lot of money.
Yeah, you better wait till the very last minute.
Well, I wouldn't even say that. What I would say is you should try to buy single tickets.
Well, sure, there's that. I would tell you last week the ticket crashed during the week. It's not going to happen that way. There's still too much demand right now for the tickets
And
to
you got
crash
Kansas
during
City
the week.
people
But
that are still trying
the
to figure out to
Kansas
come
City
in.
people typically that part of it will start to die on Friday. The Kansas City people, if they don't have a ticket by Friday,
Yeah, what I'm saying is right now,
Right.
those people are buying tickets
Correct.
today. Hey,
On-
we're going to go. We got a flight.
But-
Why don't we just drive? Yeah, you got it. Let's get some tickets.
on Saturday, Kansas City people aren't getting here. So like that part of the demand goes away. Sunday would be the day.
the Ravens are thrilled, by the way, that Buffalo didn't win.
Oh God, it would have been
They're
unbelievable. Yeah,
thrilled.
it would have been
The place
overwhelming.
would have been
Correct.
20,000 Buffalo
Correct.
people.
On Sunday, if you're desperate to go, I think the only real chance is hold out till Sunday right before the game. Right before
Yeah,
the game.
2 o'clock.
And I still can't promise that they're going to crash, but they might be not quite as bad as they are at the moment. You might be
I would
a little
agree.
bit.
I would agree in general to say, go down there. You're going to have to pay $80 to park, and hang around with your phone. And at 2 o'clock,
Just
you're
look.
gonna find something.
Yep.
That's what I would think.
Yep. Hey, I've heard a lot of people this week say, truth be told, if the Ravens play as well as they're capable of playing, I think they could blow out the Chiefs. Well, if you feel that way, the alternate spread right now at Superbook is 10.5.
10.5.
And you can
half.
get the Ravens plus 240 at that alternate spread of 2.5. Superbook.com. Download the Superbook app. Use the code GlennClark23 when you sign up. You'll receive up to $250 in a same-day first bet match, win or lose, from Superbook. I need Superbook to get a third quarter lineup. I need a line for the third quarter. Did you
Superbook had Eric Cole at plus 3,200
to win whatever that?
this week at Torrey Pines.
Oh, okay.
Everybody else has got him at like 3.
I'm sure I know who that is. I'm sure I'm familiar.
He's the guy that's
with
gonna
him,
win.
if you believe so. Your friend Randy Morgan told me that since the London game, over the last 12 games, the Ravens have given up a total of 27 points in the third quarter. Over the last 12 games. That's a 2.25 points per game average in the third quarter.
It's pretty good.
So the lines that I've seen in other places have been Ravens minus a half a point in the third quarter. I'm hammering the Ravens in the third quarter once that bet is up at Superbook. That's going to be something that I roll with for this week. All right, quickly, who would you rather it be in the end? If the Ravens win the first game, who would you rather it be in the second game?
It's weird you say that. I would prefer that San Francisco win. I wouldn't want them to play the Lions because,
Then we're the bad guys.
well, and just, I am you mentioned earlier about conspiracy theory. I am also a believer in the football gods.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I would rather them play the 49ers. I would not want them to play the Lions
There's a
because
lot
of
of
the football gods.
Right. There's a lot of
Football
them.
gods are like, oh, yeah.
This just might be their time.
right.
It just might be. We've
By the way, if Deebo Samuel doesn't play, I think Detroit's got a really good chance to win. I think
is
Detroit could
is
beat
there
them.
an update on Debo? By
I
the
think
way?
they could win. I
Is
think they
there-
could beat
Not
them.
that
Green
I've
Bay
seen.
should have beat them. Green Bay should have beat them for sure.
They certainly could have. I don't know if
I think their star has fallen, San Francisco.
I think it's fallen. I agree with that part. It's interesting to me, like my buddy out at the Circa in Vegas said that right now, like it was. I'll pull up, see what Superbook says. Superbook still, I believe, had the Ravens in a hypothetical. In a hypothetical matchup, they still have the Ravens as 1-point dogs against the 49ers. My buddy out at the Circa in Vegas said that number has fallen there, and it's a pick'em at this point.
I don't think they're losing to either one of them, but I would. They're going to have to play one of the two. I would prefer they not play the Lions.
I also have there's a
And
little.
is Detroit wearing? Who wears what colors?
Right, that's a
If
good
Detroit
point.
wears those freaking all gray,
Yeah.
we ain't winning.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that was one that you were enamored with. When did that start?
That all gray with the blue, we're
Yeah.
not winning if they wear
Okay,
that.
all
We're in
right.
trouble.
I don't know who's
I don't
the home
either,
team. I
but
don't,
we're not
I
beating
don't-
them with
I
all
don't-
gray.
I don't know how that would go.
They wear the white jerseys like they did here when we beat them.
Yeah, then
we're
you're going to
good.
pound them, right? 100%.
That all
But-
gray, we ain't beating them.
Yeah, okay. Interesting. There's also a small part of me that just kind of it seemed like that emotional edge against the 49ers was so real. I told you that I talked to some guys that the Brock Purdy thing worked. Like, they were offended by how many people were comparing Brock Purdy to Lamar Jackson. And I said something about this on set. There's a way to say this appropriately. You can appropriately say Brock Purdy's a nice player. He's had a heck of a season. But it was laughable to talk about Brock Purdy like he was Lamar Jackson. It was laughable that was ever something that we were doing. And just recognizing talent. It's why, I'll give you an example. Jared Goff's about to play in the NFC Championship game, correct? Who's the better quarterback, Jared Goff or Justin Herbert? This does not require this much hedging.
Probably Justin Herbert.
It's Justin Herbert. We all recognize talent. Now, to say Justin Herbert might have some other things that you got to deal with, you know what I mean, like they got to work through, but pure talent alone, the God-given aspect of this, it is obvious who's better. Yeah.
I don't know about that.
Jared Goff's a nice football player,
I
man.
think it's way closer than you're giving credit to, personally. I really do. But we're splitting hairs, but I think it's much closer comparing those two, personally.
Yeah.
Okay. That's fine. Pick another, but come up with another scenario. Like, come up with another one that there's more of a chasm, and I would agree with you. I think you just picked the wrong guy.
Yeah, I don't know.
I do.
Yeah, you don't.
I'm older than you.
Yeah. Oh, is that what it is? Is that what we're doing?
Pick
here?
another.
That's what we're doing.
Trevor Lawrence. I don't know.
No, I'm not. We're fine. The point being that
that might be a good one, actually.
Which way?
That might be a good one.
Which way?
The Trevor Lawrence, Jared Goff.
You think Trevor Lawrence is definitively better than Jared Goff, but you don't know that. Because that's my point is, just because you're winning games doesn't mean you're the better quarterback. We're all capable of figuring that out. We all can understand.
I think Jared Goff is much more underrated than people give him credit for.
I think Jared Goff is the
Lions didn't do jack, by the way.
I understand
okay.
that. They also didn't have a coach, and they didn't have many players.
Have you seen this guy they have now?
Yeah, he's pretty good.
You think so?
Yes.
I think he's insane.
That's the part that seems to work.
I think he's crazy.
Yes, that seems to be the reason why it works.
I think it's a
because
2-point conversion. It's from the 21-yard line. What do you want to do, Dan?
Yeah. We're going right back out there and doing it again. Going right there.
Go
I believe
for
it was
it.
from the 7. I don't think it was from the 21.
Close enough.
I
like him. I'm just really afraid, like, if it goes to overtime
that he's
on Sunday,
do something super reckless?
He's going to say, give them the ball first.
Well, they can do actually, you'd be smarter to give them the ball first.
Give them the ball.
That's the crazy. We haven't seen this yet because we haven't gotten a playoff game yet.
It's like college football.
Now, you absolutely should have the ball second in overtime now because you can know what the other team did and then understand because for those that don't remember.
Oh, it was Morningwig when they played the Bears the one year.
Okay, and do you remember when
Marty said, give them the ball? I was like, Marty,
I got suckered into going to the Ravens-Steelers game with you. You ran a trip on a Thursday night to a Ravens-Steelers game a few years ago.
Okay, I don't remember that.
Mrs. Clark had always wanted to go to a game in Pittsburgh.
Okay.
And she saw that you were doing this and was like, take the night off, come with me, the whole thing.
We win or lose?
They won, but it was awful. I mean, like, Pittsburgh started Vic, maybe? Like, they started somebody
terrible.
Right. Like, it was – Roethlisberger didn't play.
Right.
The Ravens were 0-3 maybe to start the season. And it's still, they had to win in overtime. But the only reason they won is because, remember, the wind, like, Pittsburgh drove the ball at the end of regulation.
Oh, I do remember this.
Had a great chance to win.
Tomlin wouldn't kick the field
goal. But they wouldn't kick the field goal.
Correct, I do remember that.
So we go to overtime, and they win the toss, so they have to take the ball.
Right.
But the moment they do that, the Ravens say,
we'll take the wind.
Okay, cool. Right. We get the wind.
Right.
And the same thing happens. The Steelers march down the field.
Right. Didn't make it.
They just...
They punted instead of kicked the field goal.
And
we went down.
Ravens go back down. And it was ironic because Marty Morningwig,
I do remember that,
who was, of course, killed for being the guy that didn't take the ball to start overtime, ended up being involved in a game where the only reason why you won is because you lost the coin toss in overtime.
Right.
There was something very poetic about that. All right. We
Coach,
got
what do you want us to do? Give them the ball first. Coach, you know.
Right. You understand how they score the games.
The Bears scored right away.
Yeah, the game's over. Well, we had a funny feeling. Anyway, Drew's here.
Get back here and talk some golf.
No, we're definitely not going to do that. We actually have guests lined up in the 11.
Oh, thrills. Hope they're good.
It's our guy. You don't have to stay.
I hope they're good.
It's okay. If you need to go.
No, I mean, I can't just leave. I got I got to make this $150. I
Right.
need it.
That
It's
is
my gambling money.
$150.
This 150 is
Yeah,
my
right.
gambling money.
We cut it in half? Is that, when
No,
did we do
150 for an hour.
that? Oh, got it. That makes
250 for the show, but
Right.
150. John always says if you leave early, you only get 150. I'm like, I'll stay.
I guess I'll stick around.
Gambling money.
Yeah,
Sahith Theegala's my pick this week.
what is that?
Sahith Theegala.
God bless you. Who was the guy that won last week?
Who did win last week?
The amateur.
Oh,
the,
Nick
or the-
Dunlap.
Is that what it is? Was he an amateur?
College. He's in college. Huge. Great story.
If you say so,
I mean, great story.
if you say so, I believe you. I believe you. I could have a conversation about this, but no one cares. So I'm going to pass.
Lots of people care. Mrs. Dunlap cares.
Mrs. Dunlap cares. That's a good point. If you're listening this morning, Mrs. Dunlap, congratulations.
Hey, Jerry, how
Very
are you?
happy for you. Good morning, Jerry. Today's show brought to you by your local Toyota dealer. BuyAToyota.com. The Toyota Tacoma comes in a range of models and trim lines, so you can choose the perfect Tacoma to reflect your unique personality and driving habits. Check out BuyAToyota.com for deals on new Tacomas from your local Toyota dealer today. Bill Rhoden, longtime sports writer, now with Andscape. Morgan State alum. He's going to join us next. Devin McCourty still to come, and former NFL ref Jim Daopoulos, all set to join us. Drew Forrester's here. It is a Would You Rather Wednesday edition of Glenn Clark Radio.
Hungry? With 7 locations throughout Maryland, Glory Days Grill is always right around the corner. They have wings, burgers, salads, sandwiches, and drinks to satisfy everyone, as well as tons of televisions and sound delivered right to your phone. Whether you're a Ravens fan or rooting for one of those other guys, Glory Days is the best place to watch football or whatever your favorite sport is. While you're there, be sure to check out Goose Flights Lager, named in honor of legendary Raven Tony Goose Siragusa. $2 of every can is donated to the Goose Flights Foundation. Glory Days Grill. Great food, good sports.
Why bet with the big boys this football season? Instead, try your hand with the local book, Superbook Sports, this fall. Superbook Sports is the book next door. Just a dedicated team of the best odds makers in Las Vegas, making sure you get the best prices and parlays anywhere. And now, Superbook will give you a bonus of up to $250 when you sign up and wager on the same day and use the promo code GlennClark23, GLENNCLARK23. So bet with the best and use the promo code GlennClark23 this football season with Superbook Sports. Visit superbook.com for terms and conditions. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
6 chicken tenders made from fresh, never frozen Royal Farms world-famous chicken, a family-sized order of Western fries, honey mustard dipping sauce, and a 2-liter bottle of Dr. Pepper. It's Royal Farms' new Tucker's Tenders Meal. It's Justin Tucker's favorite, and at only $19.99, it'll be your favorite meal, too. The new Tucker's Tenders Meal, available only at Royal Farms. Now you can kick back, relax, and eat like a champion. Real fresh, real fast, Royal Farms.
Gambling can be a fun and entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning on betting on the game at the casino or on your phone or computer, know your limit, stay within it. Set a budget and a time to stop. Remember, gambling isn't a financial solution, and it doesn't mix well with alcohol or drugs. Know the risks and have a plan before you begin gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org.
Jeremy Kahn here. The ultimate sports betting experience in Maryland is at the Green Turtle Bet Park Sportsbook. Join me at either location in Canton or in Towson and place your bets in person and be a part of the action. It's the best in-class sports wagering experience, complete with the ultimate TV package, ensuring you can catch every game all day, every day. Their state-of-the-art facilities bring Las Vegas energy right here to Maryland just in time for postseason football. So visit the Green Turtle Bet Park Sportsbook in Canton and Towson and elevate your game day experience and hang out with me to bet, watch, and win at the Turtle.
Hey Ravens fans, looking for the perfect new game day brew? Get a Guilford, Baltimore's finest craft beer during the next home game at the bank. That's not all. Gather your flock next home game and check out Guilford Hall Brewery's brand new bar, the Gilly Nest, located near Section 505. No tickets? No problem. Enjoy all Ravens games all season long at our restaurant and brewery in Station North. Guilford Hall Brewery, European tradition, Baltimore charm.
Make sure you tuned in every Tuesday for Pressbox Fantasy Football Analyst Joe Serpico to get you ready for your Waiver Wire Wednesday, brought to you by Live Casino and Hotel. And if you have other fantasies you want fulfilled, subscribe to Glenn and Jeremy Kahn's OnlyFans page at... Wait, are people supposed to know about that?
All right, back in here on GCR as we continue along on a Wednesday edition of the program. Drew Forrester is here. We need to... yeah, that was very thoughtful of him, right? Gifting you the sixer of Goose Flights Lager from Guilford Hall Brewery, which again is available now at the Wine Source in Hamden in both 6-packs and cases for you to go get yours. You can have that. Oh, you got the. You don't need. You're not preparing your own party on Saturday. You've got a party prepared for you.
Sunday. The game's Sunday,
right?
Why do you keep saying Saturday?
I don't know, man. I don't know. Last week was Saturday.
Played on it feels like they've played on Saturday.
Yeah, they played Saturday against the Steelers.
Yeah.
There's just been a lot of Saturdays going on recently. So
Should be on Saturday.
Why?
So we have Sunday off.
Okay.
Go to church.
There you
Do
go.
what we do on Sundays.
That's a great point.
Why do we got to go on
But
Sunday?
Golf. Right.
Or golf.
Yeah, you just do that
Yeah,
on
right.
Saturday, though, I think.
Well, I do
Pretty
that both days.
Right.
But make the game Saturday at 7 so we can all golf.
We will be doing a Project Game Day on Sunday, but probably not until after the NFC Championship game. I think that people are going to want to celebrate if the Ravens win and watch the post-game festivities
Bite your
and all
tongue.
that. Why?
If the Ravens win.
If I just say the other thing, everybody's going to accuse me of jinxing it. So
Oh, yeah, right. You're not allowed to say when they win.
Not going to do that. So it looks like it's going to be
37-13.
later on Sunday. Facebook.com/PressBoxSports, YouTube.com/PressBoxOnline. The whole crew will get together to discuss it. It's all brought to you by AJ Michael, Superbook Sports, HelpMyGamblingProblem.org.
You okay with the Hall of Fame yesterday?
Yeah. I mean, I it's funny because I don't think I realized how little of this. Joe Mauer played what % of his games as a catcher?
35.
No.
Yeah, 35.
I'm trying to pull it up now to make sure I have this correct.
35%.
Joe Mauer played in his career 1,526 games. He played more than 50% of them as a catcher.
Okay.
He played 921 of them as a catcher. But it was pointed out by a few folks yesterday. Costas was all over this during the broadcast yesterday. That the reason why the voters were giving Joe Mauer the benefit of the fact, he wasn't a home run hitter at all in his career. Like, his numbers are
Average was good.
Yes, he was a very good average hitter, but he's not Tony Gwynn either.
What was his career average? 310?
His career average was 306. It's a hell of
I mean, look, I'm just going to say this.
You hit 306 over 15 years. I have no problem.
You're getting in the Hall of Fame.
I have no problem with that whatsoever.
Right.
But to be a slam dunk first ballot guy,
okay,
part of that is you're giving the benefit to he was a catcher, and we're saying that it's more valuable to do that as a catcher than it is anywhere else. And the argument they were making that I hadn't thought about at all was, but he was only a catcher for 60% of his career, right? Like, he wasn't a catcher, a permanent catcher.
Right.
He wasn't Johnny Bench.
Right.
He was a catcher for
Brooke
60% of
Fordyce.
his career.
Right.
We're giving him extra credit when we should really only give him like half extra credit. I think the only interesting debate is does Joe Mauer deserve to be separated above other players? Is he that much better than, say, Todd Helton, who had to wait for a long time? Is he that much better than, insert name here that didn't get in on the first ballot? And that's a fair, conversation to have. But it's not about whether
I
or
kind
not.
of didn't realize Mauer was the first ballot, honestly. I thought he had been on the ballot.
No, this was his.
No, I'm saying,
yeah.
now that you say that, I'm fine with him getting in. I think he was a terrific player. I think it's an unwritten rule, and I'm fine with it, that other than Rafael Palmeiro. If you get 3,000 hits or you hit 300 for your career, what did Mauer have hit-wise? 2,400?
2,100.
Yeah, I mean, you if you get 3,000 hits or if you hit 300 for your career, and you have to have some defining, you have to have a benchmark, 1,500 games, which is, 8 years, 9 years, 10 years, whatever that is. To me, if you're a 300 hitter, you should be in the Hall of Fame for your career.
I'm good with that, right?
But I would argue, or I would listen to the argument about first ballot. I won't listen next year if Ichiro doesn't get in. They should burn that place down.
Well, I mean, my God, if the Ichiro,
if he doesn't get in, it should be burned down. And if you don't vote for him, you should never be allowed to vote again. They should put a sticky in every voting envelope that says, by the way, if you don't vote for Ichiro, you're not allowed to vote ever again.
So
vote at your own risk.
It would be laughable if Derek Jeter got a higher percentage of votes than Ichiro did. They're not comparable as baseball.
If you get the ballot,
yeah,
and you leave his box unchecked, you shouldn't be allowed to vote again.
The other
it's laughable.
The other next year, or
So you got Sabathia.
CC Sabathia.
You can't even mention those two in the same breath, to me.
But do you think CC Sabathia is a slam dunk Hall of Famer?
I'm gonna. So let's go through this. 225 wins. You tell me. I could be wrong. Could be way off.
Sabathia. I'm pulling it up.
225 wins.
250.
Okay, 250. 3.50 ERA.
Actually, 3.74 ERA.
3.74. Still very good. He pitched most of his career in the American League. WHIP 1.175.
1.25.
Okay. Cy Young's never.
Did he ever win a Cy? That's a great question.
I don't think he did.
I'll tell you in 2 seconds. I got to go to a different page.
I think he did. He might have won one with Cleveland, maybe.
I thought he did.
Maybe he
yes,
won
he
one?
did win a Cy Young
with Cleveland.
Yes.
Yeah. So one Cy Young.
Yes.
Okay. So how many wins?
251.
He started in when? 99?
He started in 2001.
Okay. 250 wins in this era.
Mm-hmm.
A 3.75 ERA. He won one Cy Young. Won a World Series. Is he a Hall of Famer? Yeah, he probably is. I would soften my stance on him a little bit. That's a lot of wins in this era. And I know we don't put a lot of stock in wins anymore, which is why it's a lot of wins. It's a lot of wins. And people are going to, this is kind of blasphemy, right? He was a better pitcher than Messina, in my opinion.
I'd have to think about that. I don't think the numbers back that up. But if you're trying to say big game, we'd have to hash that out.
I think if you said to me,
I would say no, he wasn't, because I just don't think we look at Messina's numbers because we get obsessed.
I think
over.
If you said to me, you got one game tonight, you can pitch Messina or Sabathia. Who do you want? You and I would both say Sabathia.
I hear your argument for that, but I also disrespected Mike Messina's numbers for a long time, and it took the Hall of Fame debate for me to realize just how good Mike Messina was.
He was awesome.
Quickly, because we got to get to Bill Rhoden. The other two names next year that are first ballot eligible that are interesting are Dustin Pedroia and Felix Hernandez.
So I'm going to ride the fence a little bit on Pedroia. I loved him as a player. I'd really have to dig into the numbers more. I think we have a regional bias against him here because we saw him so much and we didn't like him.
Yeah,
I thought he was a really, really good baseball player. But I'd have to dig in more. Felix Hernandez was one of the best pitchers in baseball at his zenith, and he would be a yes for me.
Okay, very good, very good. Ravens-Chiefs, AFC Championship game coming up on Sunday. The
Ravens made it?
Yeah, you should go. Go get a ticket. They're cheap. It's funny because Bill Rhoden, what he wrote for Andscape, he really set up the narrative, and the narratives here are overwhelming. This is it's chef's kiss. There's so much for us in the media when it comes to this game. Joining us now, longtime sports writer, currently with Andscape, Morgan State alum. He is our friend, Mr. Bill Rhoden, and he is back with us now here on GCR. Bill, it's Glenn and Drew in Baltimore. It's always great to catch up with you. Thank you for taking the time for us.
Absolutely. Hey, Glenn. Hey, Drew. Go Bears. I was intrigued before we by your conversation about the Hall of Fame. Because I really, I know this gets into the whole thing about analytics and AI versus soul. And I was thinking of a guy like I think Messina, you set it up tremendously. Forget his numbers. If there was a big game, I think you framed it perfectly. And you could go on with any sport. If there was a big game, if you're in hockey and you're going to have the shootout, who do you want to have? And it may not be the person with the numbers, but it's somebody who has just gotten it done. And I was thinking, whenever it comes time to deal with Lamar versus whomever, there's just certain people, and you guys have known over the period of sports, there are certain guys whose numbers, if you look at just pure numbers, the numbers don't stack up. But you know that in a game, I want to have this guy, whether it's the last drive of the game, whether it's a big game, or whether it's taking the last shot. There's just certain people whose numbers may not stack up, but this is who you want to get it done. So anyway, that's
as crazy as Kurt Schilling's been post baseball, he's a guy that fits that narrative exactly, right? Like you would have wanted Curt Schilling to have the baseball in his hand in Game 6 or Game 7, even though his regular season numbers weren't great.
Yeah, right. No, before we knew he was nuts.
Right.
It's so. Bill, I want to follow up on what you said because it's something that came up a lot this year where we all sat here, and I know how much you were in Baltimore, I know how much you've been following Lamar, and it's been a project of yours, but like we're all watching this guy, and we're seeing an orchestra conductor, we're seeing an artist, like it's Jimi Hendrix at Woodstock, it's Aretha Franklin singing opera music. We're all seeing the same thing. But then the numbers, like, somebody last week looks and said, what, he threw for 150 yards, right? Like, that's not all that. We all see it every week that this person is in such utter command and control and is not panicked, is seeing the game and has a feel for the game in a way that so few ever have. Like, he's controlling the game like peak Peyton Manning controlled football games. And yet, numerically, somebody who's not watching the games would say, really? He's the MVP? Like I don't know. It's not all that impressive to me. It requires you to have watched him every game to understand just how remarkable Lamar Jackson has been this season.
And unfortunately, or not unfortunately, but I guess the challenge Sunday is that he's going up against somebody who is equally as magical.
That's true.
Whose numbers aren't the same. If you looked at Mahomes and I know it's a team sport, obviously, but when you looked at last week, and I don't know how you guys felt. I really love the way Mahomes plays the game, but I'm thinking, going into Buffalo is a steep challenge, because Josh Allen, it's a steep challenge. But if you look at that game, by the second half, I was convinced that every time Kansas City got the ball, Mahomes was going to do the right thing, to make the right play. And I think that Lamar is the same thing. I think that's why it's such a great classic matchup, because you have two guys, two quarterbacks who are just magicians. And I think that's right. That's what we're talking about in sports. Even when, I know Cam Newton took a lot of heat for talking about manager versus, what do you say, making, what is it, manager versus a playmaker.
Right, correct.
And, when I'm looking
game
at
manager versus game changer. That's what he said.
Yeah. Right, thank you. And, I get what he was trying to say. And trust me, there's nothing wrong with being a game manager. I mean, but when you look at the game with San Francisco, and you look at other games, you saw in that game that, you saw it on display that Lamar is a game changer. And they're not that many, Patrick Mahomes is a game changer. And there are only a handful of people. I don't know if we can name a handful. So, but that's why I think, again, Sunday is such a great potential, because you have two people who are game changers going at it. And I guess, these things is going to boil down to probably two plays, right? It's going to boil down to probably two plays and two mistakes. So I think I just think I'm very excited about it. The only thing I'm more excited about is my daughter's scheduled to give birth at any moment now.
Yes.
I saw her last night. I said, Rye, is Baby Roll going to come out before the championship game?
Hey, Bill,
what are we doing here?
I want to ask you, or make a point real quick, get you to chew on something about Mahomes. But before I do that, I was in Fort Lauderdale last week on a golf trip, and we made our way up through Pompano Beach. You want a really good story? Hop on the plane and go down there, and you will be blown away by how many kids you see running around Pompano Beach with Lamar Jackson jerseys on. It's unreal how much of an impact in that community. And I don't know how much you know about Fort Lauderdale and Pompano Beach, but there are some not so great areas in both of those locations, despite their relative beauty. And you would be blown away by how many kids you see running around in those jerseys. It's pretty cool. So it's a good story. In some ways, I hate to say this, in some ways, if Mahomes comes in here on Sunday and wins, this could be his Mona Lisa, because the offense is lousy. pretty much without him. I mean, in the past, he's had Tyreek Hill. He's had playmakers. He's had guys that could run the football. They haven't always had a very good defense, but they always had him. This year, they gave him very little. And in an odd twist, they actually gave Lamar people this year. And now you're seeing what Lamar can do when he has real players around him. I don't think it's going to happen. But if Mahomes comes in here and wins, this could be his Led Zeppelin 4. This could be the best thing he's ever done.
Right now. Yeah, no, I agree. Lamar they gave him great weapons, but the Flowers has just been a revelation. Flowers has been great.
Right.
Kansas City's defense has really stepped up. So I don't know. It's almost like it's hard to me. I mean, just in terms of the script and all that, and for other reasons, I think it would be great for Lamar and Ravens to reach the Super Bowl. Just for a lot of reasons that have to do with the history of black quarterbacks and what Lamar represents, blah, 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 blah. But it's hard to bet against Mahomes. I mean, if we haven't learned anything else. But you're right. I think you're right that this would be his Mona Lisa. But it would also be, for Lamar, it would be like Jacob's Ladder. I think that he's been aiming at this for, you guys, for how many years? The last 2 years were terrible for him. The injuries. We were always waiting to see, he held out. And now he signed a big contract. And what impact would that have? And I should say surprised, but it just seems as if there's this fire. There's this fire. It's just igniting something in him that he really wants this really, really badly. And I guess that's what I want to ask you guys. What do you think of they're talking about Andrews coming back? But everything has really been perfectly balanced. I think Lightly has been playing great. The passing game is great. What do you think about Andrews coming back? And do you think that might interrupt something?
I'm not worried about it screwing it. I've heard that theory a few times, Bill. I'm not worried about it screwing anything up. I guess the theory is that Lamar Jackson in his career Mark Andrews has been such a kind of safety blanket for him that you worry that all of a sudden he gets into a game and he only sees Mark Andrews, but that just wasn't really the case earlier this season. Like when Lamar Jackson, I think, only saw Mark Andrews because, truth be told, that was the only guy for there to be seen, right? Like, who else was he going to throw the ball to for a number of years? I think now with all these, I do not fear that Mark Andrews being back onto the field leads us back to Lamar Jackson only throwing the ball his way. He has moved the ball around so well, and I don't feel like there's that fear that he just goes back to Andrews.
I'll take the other side of that.
Okay.
And I won't go heavy on it, but I will also, and I'm not going to say that Isaiah Likely has Wally pipped Mark Andrews. I'm not going to say that.
He's unbelievable.
He's terrific. But I would subscribe to the theory that if he does come back and he does get 25 snaps, that means that's 25 snaps someone else isn't getting. They've percolated very nicely without him. And I don't know. You might have to go have a tough talk with him and say, hey, look, we're going to use you in Vegas if we get that far, but we're going to go with what we got at this point. I don't know. It is an interesting dichotomy because he is one of the best tight ends in football. But they've also, and so much of this, Bill, I think is about who they have around them. This time last year, that you wouldn't have even asked that question. We would have been dying to have Mark Andrews come back in because he was one of the only 3 or 4 options we had. Now they have 6 or 7 options. I'll tell you something. You remember you heard this here. The guy that has been a huge key for the Ravens that no one talks about is Nelson Aguilar. It's unbelievable. It is unbelievable how much he has helped them and totally under the radar screen. And his emergence alone has helped them kind of go through this Mark Andrews period and not suffer. Aguilar has been a huge, huge compliment to them that no one talks about.
And that's a great point because it almost happened immediately after Andrews went down. I think it may have been later that game, the next game, with guys like Aguilar, you began to see, and I guess that's what I thought too, is that this is probably almost a cosmic blessing in disguise for Lamar and the offense. And again, Munkin too. I'm sure that, if we're thinking about this, I'm sure they had some great conversations about, what, this is an opportunity. This is an opportunity to spread this thing around. And I think if you made me vote, I think Andrews is such a selfless guy. I think at this point, for him, it's just about fitting in. And maybe it's only 2 plays.
Right.
It may be only 2 plays, but they could be game-changing plays. That he says, this is not September. This is January. It's been great. I've seen how everything fits. How can I fit in? And I think that might, he's a pro. And so I think that he probably would not do anything to screw it up. I don't think anybody on that team, they're so close. They're so close that I think everybody is just thinking of how can we fit in.
I'll give you one other guy that I think is going to have a role on Sunday, and if things go well for them, he'll have a role in Vegas. He'll be a huge part of the last 2 games, Dalvin Cook. I think they're going to get Dalvin Cook in the game far more than they're letting on, and I think giving him those 5 or 6 snaps the other day just to let him get bruised up a little, let him feel the impact again. I think that's a trick up their sleeve that you're going to see on Sunday.
Yeah, how great is it? And that's actually a good story. I wonder how great is it if you're a guy like Dalvin Cook. Number one, you're fresh, but how great is it to play with a guy like Lamar Jackson? What does that do for you? We always talk about how great players make the game easy for a lot of other people. I would love to get Dalvin Cook's perspective on, at his age, this point of his career, how great is it to be in the backfield with Lamar Jackson? I guess if you're a Ravens fan, it almost seems too well set up. You're not totally healthy, but you're pretty healthy. You're at home. The odds really seem to be Lamar's playing great. What could? Well, I don't want to ask that question.
Don't do that. Don't do that, Bill Rhoden. Don't do that.
Well, yeah, and here's the thing too: the intangible. And Bill, you've been around sports a long time, so the intangible for me on Sunday, and I do believe the Ravens are going to win, but I'm also not naive, and I know that things could go sideways. And one of the reasons why things could go sideways is there is an intangible that the Chiefs do know how to win these kind of football games. And the Ravens, I'm not going to say the Ravens don't. What I am going to say is the Ravens haven't had this kind of experience.
This group.
Right,
this
group,
core,
right.
Yeah.
I mean, Justin Tucker's the only guy left, I think, from the Super Bowl team. That Kansas City knows how to win these games. They've been there. They've done that. And I think, and you mentioned this earlier, and I think them winning on Sunday in Buffalo kind of evened things out for them for their season. I think they would tell you to a man like, yeah, we were okay. We weren't great. We had some nice wins. We had some not so nice losses. Like, we were okay. I think that game on Sunday evened them out and got their chakras in line a little. And I was impressed with them on Sunday. And I know it took a late field goal miss and some crazy play calling to help them, but that was a pretty significant win for them, I thought, on Sunday.
No, absolutely. It was because of everything that has been saying, and not only what people have been saying about them, just the way they were playing. The drops were real. We weren't making it up. And can they go into Buffalo? Now, granted, Buffalo had a ward of injury, and they actually picked on, I forget the linebacker, the guy who was on the couch, and the Buffalo guy was on the couch, and they basically
AJ Klein.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, but they really picked on him. But no, I absolutely agree. It was a great game. The only, then they come into Baltimore, a really hard place to play and all that. But as you said, there is something about having been there. I remember, and I'm sure everybody listening has had that experience. I remember when I went to Morgan, when I came to Morgan, in the dark ages. But Morgan had been on this, they had lost a game when I got there in 3 years. There are guys on the team who had never lost in their entire careers. And I came from Chicago, from a school, and we won 2 games every year. And it was, remember, we played Grambling in the Yankee Stadium and won. And I remember how by the middle of the season, my whole thinking about things had been transformed. That instead of expecting to lose, I was beginning to expecting to win. And, not just in football, but in, life in general. But it's funny how that actually is real. And, you guys have talked to players who've been on great teams, and there's just this expectation of winning. Now, the only thing to balance that off is if you got like a guy like Justin Tucker, who's used to, hitting 89-yard field goals, and can visualize and has seen it. That could be the thing that really tips the blame. But I think you're right that a lot of this is going to be psychological and emotional. When you get to that point where we could either win or lose, we could either make. Well, then I guess you have Odell Beckham, who's had the one Super Bowl victory. But I think you're absolutely right that the Buffalo game was really important to Kansas City, and I think the Ravens, this group of Ravens, I think this will be that test for them. That can you visualize what Kansas City has already visualized? These guys won the Super Bowl last year, and Mahomes was spectacular, playing hurt, playing on essentially one leg, and that's kind of what you're up against. So I just think that's what makes. I guess that's why we all love sports so much and competition so much, because it's moments like this. So
it's rich. It's rich. There's no doubt, Bill. Bill Rhoden. First of all, congratulations on the grandbaby on the way, and hopefully that it'll get that taken care of like today, so that you can enjoy the championship game on Sunday. Always appreciate taking the time for us, sir.
I always appreciate you guys.
Thanks, Bill. Bill Rhoden, legend in the sports writing community. Appreciate him hopping on with us this morning. By the way, real quick, just for the fun of it, the numbers for Messina and Sabathia. Sabathia 1.259 whip, Messina 1.192 whip. Sabathia 3.74 ERA, Messina 3.68 ERA. Sabathia 3.3 walks per 9 innings, Messina 2 walks per 9 innings. The one number Sabathia has the edge is strikeouts per 9 innings.
Sure.
Sabathia 7.8 strikeouts
I think
per 9.
Sabathia probably gave up more home runs too.
Probably.
Yeah.
But I didn't pull that.
Well, I always said I thought Messina was a 50-50 Hall of Fame guy to me. I think when he got voted in, that I got it. And if he wouldn't have gotten voted in, I probably would have got that too. Like, I thought he was close. And I think Sabathia is the same way. Like, I think he's very close. We get caught up a lot, and I understand why, because we do try to create we have to create some line of demarcation for these guys, and we get caught up in saying, was he the best player at his position?
Right.
Well, you can't say that about pitchers.
Yeah,
you just can't.
Yeah, it's impossible.
Because right now there are 8 great pitchers in baseball.
Yep. Yeah,
There's
how
not
do you
one great one?
Yeah,
right.
is Max Scherzer really better than Justin Verlander? Right.
So I think, to me, I'm not going to say if Messina's a Hall of Famer, Sabathia is a Hall of Famer. I'm not going to say it like that. But that is sort of the benchmark. If Mike Messina's a Hall of Famer, so is CC Sabathia.
Right.
To me.
I hear you. I would just say that numbers would tell you that Mike Messina was better than CC Sabathia.
He might have been, but it was negligible.
I understand that.
Yeah.
All right. Let's continue
I can still
talking.
hear that horn going off every time there's a strikeout.
Let's continue talking Ravens-Chiefs on Sunday. Our next guest is going to be on the call for Westwood One for the AFC Championship game. He is a 3-time Super Bowl champion, but we like to ignore who he was playing with because we didn't care for them too much. He is former New England Patriot and now analyst for NFL Network and Westwood One. Devin McCourty is with us this morning here on GCR. Devin, it's Glenn and Drew in Baltimore. It's great to catch up with you, man. Thank you so much for taking the time for us. Hey, Devin, you there? We got you. Did we lose Devin? We'll see if we can try that again. Yeah? All right. That was such a good setup, too.
Well, I got a great question for him.
Oh?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, God.
Let me lead it off. Just let me lead it off, and it'll soften him up a little.
Oh, yeah? That's what you think, huh?
It'll soften him up a little. Just let me lead with the hard-hitting. I have a hard-hitting. Now, I don't want to offend him, but I have a hard-hitting question right out of the gate.
This isn't going to go well.
No, it's going to go great.
This is a mistake.
He is in the media now.
Yeah, okay.
And
all
he
right.
knows he's
All
going to
right.
get a hard-hitting question.
All right. Devin McCourty.
So let me ask it.
On the call for Westwood One on Sunday. Devin, it's Glenn and Drew. I'm going to apologize in advance. My partner, Drew Forrester, wants to lead off with a question, and I'm not sure where it's going to go. So I want you to know how much I appreciate you taking the time for us.
What's happening?
It's a hard-hitting question, Devin. Just be honest. The Pat the Patriot helmet, when you played in those, your game elevated far more than when you played with the Flying Elvis helmet.
No doubt about it. The jerseys, the whole makeup, it was amazing.
Thank you very much. I knew it.
I really hate the fact that you encouraged him because he does this a lot, Devin. We get this all the time.
I love that helmet.
He says if they wore it every game, they'd never lose.
That's correct.
Oh, man.
That's correct.
Hey, Devin, it's funny because there's a lot. Obviously, there's so much with this football game on Sunday. But one of the things that I kind of alluded to earlier in the week is that this is to be the man, you got to beat the man. So this is a Ric Flair situation, right? Lamar Jackson versus Patrick Mahomes. You got to beat the man in order to be the man. And it kind of reminded me a little bit. I'm not in any way trying to compare Lamar Jackson and Joe Flacco because with all due respect to Joe Flacco, Lamar Jackson is far better. But at the beginning of the decade, for the Ravens to be able to win a Super Bowl, they had to overcome Tom Brady and your Patriots. And it feels kind of parallel. Like this is... You got to climb the mountaintop. You want to be this guy. You want to do this. It has to go through Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs, right?
Yeah, and I agree. And I think the Chiefs have put themselves in a position that even in a year where it hasn't been what we're used to seeing from the team, especially offensively, I would say from both sides. Like usually we're talking about Mahomes trying to carry the team, trying to still be in the conference championship game, and it was always despite the defense. And I think now you watch this team is kind of built on defense. It's built on the running game with Pacheco. So just totally kind of different atmosphere and different team than we've seen in years past. And somehow season goes by and they end up in this game. So this is 7, I think, or 8 straight AFC Championship games. So it's only right to get to the top and be in that Super Bowl. You got to go through this team and beat them.
So how much confidence should we I feel like for as good and everything we know to be true about the Kansas City Chiefs, and I agree with everything you just said, Devin, that despite the fact they've been down this year, they are still ever so dangerous, and they have figured it out. They're playing complementary football. What the Ravens have been doing this year is insane. I mean, this was now 11 wins over teams with winning records, 9 of which have been by 2 touchdowns. Like, it's historic what the Ravens have done against good football teams this season. How much confidence should we have just in if the Ravens play their football game, they've proven that they're just kind of that much better than everybody else right now?
Yeah, I think the Ravens should be extremely confident because you what you are. Like what you put out there on film is who you are, and this team has done nothing but improve every single week. It's not like we turned on Baltimore week 1 when they were playing Houston. It's not like we walked away and we were like, man, this team right here, so complete, they're unstoppable. No, like this team, new offensive coordinator, they've worked their butts off to get better week after week, and it's all a setup for these opportunities. So I don't think it's as easy as, we just do what we do and we win. I think playoff football is so unique that it's hard to just do what you've done all year. We watch all these games and somehow we kind of picture in our mind, we've watched these teams for 18 weeks. Like we kind of know how the game should go. And then we watch it and we're like, well, that's not really what I expected. So I think they have to be ready for that. But I think the biggest thing we should talk about in New England all the time, one play at a time. They're the better team. They played like that all year. Just take it one play at a time. Don't think, if it's going well, it's like, man, we're going to the Super Bowl. And if it's not going well, it's like, I can't believe we lost. Like you can't get wrapped up in that during the game. And it's easy to get wrapped up in that when the stakes are this high because you've dreamed of these moments. So I think if they stay locked in, they're definitely the favorite.
Devin, what do you see? And I guess if you're Patrick Mahomes, if you were helping scout for the Chiefs, and you know something about first-round defensive backs, you were one of them. How does Mahomes navigate his way around Kyle Hamilton on Sunday? What's the secret as you've watched the games and the film, and you see Hamilton and this incredible season he's had? How does Mahomes handle him?
Well, I think it's different. We're not talking about, whether to throw it on the edge against a corner. I think it's knowing where Kyle Hamilton is something I used to hear Brady talk about all the time when he played against Ed Reed or Troy Polamalu. Like, it was him always knowing where those guys were because they did so many different things. I think the unique and hard thing about Kyle Hamilton is there's so many guys that you still have to worry about. You got to know where Patrick Queen and Roquan Smith are, like the exotic kind of pressures or simulated pressures that Baltimore brings. It's not only based off Kyle Hamilton. You know, there's plays where, you know, one of the linebackers, whether it's Queen, is, you know, 6 yards off the ball looking like he's in coverage. Roquan Smith's up on the line. Roquan Smith takes off to the other side of the field to play kind of the hook dropper, and Patrick Queen comes on a blitz. So it's understanding this defense. I think they need to understand the scheme and what are some of the tells you can get from the blitz packages and things like that. But I think, yeah, him knowing where Kyle Hamilton is he playing the nickel? Is he playing the deep part of the field? Is he close to the line of scrimmage and having a chance to come? Like, he better know these things because he's that kind of poker chip for the Ravens defense that they can place anywhere. And the hard thing about Hamilton is no matter where they place him, he's one of the best at the position. And that's very rare that you can go in multiple positions and still play at a high level.
He's Devin McCourty. He's going to be on the call Sunday for the AFC Championship game on Westwood One. You'll hear it right on 105.7 The Fan here in Baltimore. Randy, sorry, Devin, I wonder if you could, please, how impressed you've been by Mike Macdonald and what he's done. And I know that part of it is you bring up Kyle Hamilton and Roquan Smith. Part of it is you have really good football players, and Justin Madubuike has been phenomenal. But what we've been impressed by has been the disguising and the adjustments, right? Like, even in a game, say on Sunday, or it's this past Saturday, where the Ravens were fine defensively, the adjustments were phenomenal in the second half. This stat that was sent to me by our friend Randy Morgan, over the last 12 games, the Ravens defense have given up a total of 27 third-quarter points, which is staggering. It's 2.25 points per game during that time in the third quarter, and the way that they're adjusting at the half. How much have you been impressed by Mike Macdonald and what he's done to elevate good players into becoming this dominant defensive unit?
Yeah, I think it's interesting, you know, being in studio talking to Jason Garrett, and we were talking about the Houston-Cleveland playoff game where, you know, it felt like Cleveland kind of just still did the same things throughout the game that, you know, Houston was giving them trouble with, and they felt like they just needed to play better. And I was like, man, it's crazy to me as a player that you don't kind of draw up something new. And Coach Garrett had a great point. He was like, it's not about doing something new. He was like, when you're a coach, you should have a long list of different things that you do as a defense from the beginning of the season all the way throughout. He said, and you have a plan coming into the game of like, these are the things I think that will work. And I think what Baltimore does a good job of is even if it's working, it might not be working at the level they want it to work. And they have no problem saying, all right, we've been sending in secondary pressures either from the edge or up the middle. We're not really liking that. Let's go back to sending pressure with our linebackers, or let's go to a 5-man down front, or let's go to a 4-man rush front. Like, they have no problem doing that. You know, if we're playing a ton of man, they don't mind saying, oh, let's switch up and let's play zone. So I think McDonald's done a good job of saying, here, I got this bag, and in my bag, I got a lot of different things I can go to. And the unique things that I can go to, I have the personnel and players to get me in these different things. I have 3 safeties that have played at a high level with Marcus Williams, Geno Stone, and Kyle Hamilton. Mm-hmm. But I also have a bunch of corners that when they've had to step in and Mollett has to come in and play nickel, he's done that. Ronald Darby stepped up. Mm-hmm. Stevens has stepped up. Oh, yeah, Marlon Humphrey was our best guy coming in, and he's not even out there right now. So I think he's done a really awesome job of saying, I have all these players. My number one job is to make sure they're prepared and ready to go, no matter who it is. And my job is to put them in different spots in this scheme to be effective. And I think that's one of the reasons we've seen Madubuike be unstoppable this year, because he's using them in a way that is unique to him, not just any other defensive tackle, but using them as a way that he can be effective.
If I could follow up on it, so a week ago against the Texans, there was lots of pressure. You bring up Madubuike had, I think, 7 himself. There was tons of pressure, lots of hurries, but no sacks, no turnovers, like none of the really big plays. It was just more of a methodical defensive effort. Is pressure alone enough against Patrick Mahomes, or is he too good, too elusive, that it will require big plays, big, sacks, turnovers in order to beat the Chiefs on Sunday?
No, pressure will be enough. The greats are not going to sit there and get sacked 5-6 times. They're going to adjust the protection. They're going to know how to get the ball out. It's about how you can make them uncomfortable. We watched, my opportunity to play with Brady, the best games. They might have had a sack, maybe 2 sacks, but it was the impact of the pocket always coming right in his face. He can't step up and make throws. It was him having to get rid of the ball and throw it in the dirt before he was ready. He's smart enough not to take the sacks and do those things, but it was him never really being comfortable. And I think when we watch these great quarterbacks, it's that part of the game, it's that element. But I think for Baltimore, the joy and beauty of watching them is watching rush and coverage married together. Early in the game against C.J. Stroud, they don't get the sack, but Van Noy's pushing in on the pocket. Matabike is coming up the middle, and he goes to throw a quick out route to Nico Collins, and Stevens is all over. He breaks up the out route.
Yeah.
So it's being right there. And I think when you turn on Kansas City versus Miami, Miami's not a team that usually pressures a lot, but they felt like they couldn't get there because of all the injuries with a 4-man rush. So they sent pressure, and that pressure is about to get home. But each time Mahomes throws the ball, he gets it out of his hands, and Miami's secondary was too deep. They were too far off, so that turned into a slant for 10 yards or a stop route for 8 yards, and they were able to get the ball out of his hands and keep the chains moving. And I think Baltimore has to do a good job of when they pressure or they get to Mahomes, the coverage has to be tight. And if the coverage isn't there right away, if the pressure's not there right away, the coverage should be same way accordingly, off, knowing that the passes will go further down the field. So I think that relationship has to be on point when you play against the great quarterback.
One thing that we've talked about a lot is how much this game means for Lamar Jackson, right? And it's the be the man, beat the man thing. But I feel like the flip side to that is a lot of people would say isn't there an inherent amount of pressure that comes with that? Watching how Lamar Jackson has handled himself, it feels to me like this isn't pressure to him, it's opportunity, right? Like he just the determination, what we saw on Saturday, and how he was getting after his guys and the look on his face and going in and cussing them out, but they responded to it. Like it doesn't feel like it's getting to him, the weight of all of this. It feels like he's rising almost because of the weight of all of this.
Yeah, and I think when you're a young player, especially at that position, at the quarterback position, you continuously try to look at what others are doing and make sure like you're there. And I think when you look at Lamar Jackson this year, he's kind of gone away from that. I think for him, he wants to win a Super Bowl, and he understands that this team is special. Even when I got the opportunity to sit down with him, he kept talking about the other guys on the team over and over and over again. And I think he now sees this as not just like, this is my opportunity or this is pressure on me. He feels like, hey, in 2019, we were here. And I think a lot of those guys on the team felt like that, right? Like, I have to step up. I have to do this. And I think now he feels like this team is special. We have to make sure we take advantage of what we have. It's not just Lamar Jackson. There's Roquan Smith. It's Patrick Queen. It's veterans like Clowney and Van Noy. It's guys like Nelson Aguilar, who's a veteran that has come in. It's OBJ. It's that offensive line that has now been together and understands how they want to play even in the passing game. So I think it's not as much of just the Lamar Jackson versus Patrick Mahomes, or Lamar Jackson, is probably going to be 2-time MVP. He now needs a Super Bowl. I think he sees this as this Baltimore Ravens team is special. And the only way teams remain special is to be, I know people don't like to say it, world champions, but it is. It's being world champions. That makes teams memorable. That makes them talked about for years. It makes it just what a special team is all about. So I think he's taken that on, and that's the leadership now. It's him not worried about how guys are going to view him if he's getting in their face and yelling. He's making sure this team gets to where they're supposed to be, and he believes that's in Super Bowl 58 and holding Lombardi. And I think as a former player, it's a lot of fun to watch him take on that leadership role and just continue to go further and further with it. It's been awesome.
In the booth on Sunday, is there a competition between you and your brother to see who gets more words in? Like, is that still, do you kind of needle each other? Like, I'm going to be better than you today. Did you have any of that?
No, I mean, like, we did it before in the regular season, and that's his time to shine. We're in championship football, AFC Championship. Like, he doesn't know much about this. He played in one of them. This is my time. I'm going to tell him, hey, slide back. I'll let you know when I need you, but this is my time to educate the audience. Maybe you can learn something too. So that'll be the focus of the booth.
You had to carry him to one of them all those years ago, right? That's the way that it works.
Exactly.
Devin and Jason and Ian Eagle on the call Sunday for Westwood One in the AFC Championship game. Devin McCourty, anything else we can plug for you, man?
No, man, just having fun and can't wait to see this game this weekend, and then, be in the Super Bowl in Las Vegas watching that game.
Enjoy your trip to Baltimore. Hopefully we'll see you out in Vegas in a couple weeks. Really appreciate you taking a couple of minutes for us this morning, man.
Have a good one, guys.
Devin McCourty with us here on GCR.
I saw Ian on Sunday. I went down and gave him the old wave, and, hey, he was at the game, Maryland, our Terps.
Oh, that's right. I'm like, where was Ian? He was doing the Ravens.
He was there.
Yeah, that's right. He did him and Bill Raftery.
Ian, he turned around. Hey.
We actually asked him if he would come on today, and when he said, heard you were here, he was like, Thursday sounds great to me. I'll come on Thursday, is what he said. So
no, I won't be talking to him anymore then.
Is that the way it's going to go? Not a low blow.
Bad luck charm.
Your Terps, baby. Your Terps. Hey, today's show also brought to you by your local Toyota dealer, buyatoyota.com. The Toyota Tacoma comes in a range of models and trim lines, so you can choose the perfect Tacoma to reflect your unique personality and driving habits. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Tacomas from your local Toyota dealer today. So we are not conspiracy theorists. I was stunned by the fact that I couldn't get Drew to become a conspiracy theorist today because I thought it would be in his blood.
I just don't have enough of the data. I'm not going to buy into this whining about this referee until I really delve into the data. I don't think it's that easy. It's not that simple.
A lot of controversy in Baltimore in the last 24 hours about Shawn Smith, who will be the lead referee for Sunday in the AFC Championship game, and how road teams have performed better in games that Shawn Smith has refereed than the average for road teams in the NFL. We wanted to get some perspective about this. So we reached out to Jim Daopoulos, former NFL official who is with us this morning here on GCR. Jim, it's Glenn and Drew, and please, let us get it out of the way. Neither one of us are conspiracy theorists or nut jobs when it comes to this. This is not, we just wanted some perspective. We appreciate you taking the time for us.
In general.
All right, so thank you, Jim.
Well, my pleasure, guys. I think it's much ado about nothing, but let's kind of move forward with it.
Well, the one thing I would say is, and when you see, look, I said earlier when Glenn said, and we're just assuming there are roughly 20 head officials, right? And they get mixed in with
17. There's actually 17.
So there's 17. So if one of the 17 has this wide disparity, that also tells me 16 of the 17 also have a wide disparity. It just happens to be the other way, and no one talks about that. Like, to me, that number's peculiar.
That's exactly right. And what you got to understand is that, they talk about, Shawn Smith's team on the road team usually wins, et cetera, et cetera. Well, understand that, Shawn is just part of that crew. It could be his other officials that are assigned with him. It's not necessarily Shawn, but he comes up as the scapegoat on this because he's the white hat on this.
Right.
Now, for this game on the game this weekend in Baltimore, Shawn's got a whole new crew with him. He's got two officials, Jeff Seaman and Dino Paganelli, who are two of the top officials in their position working with him. And those are the only other officials that work with Shawn on a regular basis. Now he's got other officials that are working from other crews. So it's basically what they call an all-star crew. But let me tell you, Shawn is one of the top officials in the National Football League. The championship game, when I was working up in New York, we always felt that the championship game was the most difficult game for officiating, and it was the game that we wanted to put our top officials in because this is the game that's going to send you them to the Super Bowl. The Super Bowl is kind of it's kind of frosting on the cake. If you get the Super Bowl assignment, that's great. We try to rotate it around a little bit, but the best officials are really working in the championship game.
So Jim, just the theory of whether it's odd that someone is penalized more road teams. That to you, it doesn't even register with you as like, that's kind of. And again, I say this as someone who's not a conspiracy theorist, but it doesn't register you as even being like odd that the numbers look the way that they do.
Not at all. Not at all. It just so happens they're throwing numbers out there. Now, are those numbers that are accepted penalties, or are those total penalties called? It's just numbers that they throw out analytically, and they try to. It gives them something to talk about, but it's nothing that is brought into consideration when making assignments. When you look at that like that, basically you go out there and you try to put your best officials, and if they're making mistakes, if he's continually making mistakes, they're not going to be around. They're not going to be working championship games. So I can tell you, the officials that are working the game this weekend in Baltimore are probably the best officials that the league has available.
Well, and the one thing, too, I mentioned this earlier, and Glenn and I just did a very, very brief recap. If you, this weekend, refereed the Ravens at the Panthers, and we were basing it off of this past season, the Ravens are winning that game. And if you then refereed the Ravens and the Chiefs, that might be a 50-50 game. But if you referee Ravens-Panthers or Cowboys-Commanders or 49ers-Cardinals, the road team's winning all of those games.
It wouldn't be surprising that the home team got penalized a little bit more and struggled in that game.
Right. Like the road team is going to win no matter what you do. I'm not even suggesting you're doing anything. But it's just we kind of do this a lot in Baltimore, right? We start looking at reasons why things might not go right. I just think there's so much data you would have to dig in to prove this. I just don't buy it. I'm sorry. I don't. And we all have, as I'm sure you do when you watch the games, we all have our questions about calls that are made and things that happen. Like that, it's natural. But I just don't buy this.
Sure. You go into the game as an official. You go into the game, and you're not. Well, this is the home team, and we're going to help the home team, or we're going to help the visiting team, or we're going to. You've got a job to do, and basically what you want to do is make sure you don't make any mistakes, because it's going to have an overall effect on your overall rating, your positioning on the staff, et cetera, et cetera.
He is Jim Daopoulos, former NFL ref. He is with us here on GCR. Jim, the idea, because you brought this up before, that it's a different crew. Generically, can you explain to me, like, is it easier to work with new guys? Is it more difficult to work with new guys? I'm just kind of fascinated by that because it's something I've never asked anybody about before. Like, what is the impact of, I've been working with certain guys all year long, and then I show up at the biggest games of the year, and I'm working with different guys. Is it just, hey, you're still doing the same job, so it doesn't really matter who else is on the crew with you?
Well, it's a great question, and it's always the concern of how should we assign officials to these playoff games. And you want to give everybody an opportunity, but you want to use the best officials. Naturally, you want to work with the same crew that you've been with all year. You've got a familiarity with it, and you know what's going on out there. But, the guys have been in this game officiating for a long time. So you should be able to, move the pieces in and out and work with whoever's working. But again, it's nice to be with the guys that you've been with, for the whole season, because you know what they're going to do. You know what kind of, communication you can have with them. But as I said, the guys the 7 that you have working this game this weekend, probably as good as any 7 that are working, in the league.
It's really hurting the conspiracy theorists. Jim. It's really,
I think that's the problem with it.
Yeah.
Well, I did say earlier, kind of joking around, I did say that John Harbaugh is going to go up to Shawn this weekend before the game and say, "Hey, I got to tell you, I know you've had a tough week. You've been getting beat up. Yeah. I think you're awesome. I think you get. I have a lot of respect.
Good words to be said before the game.
Yeah, right. I got a lot of respect for you.
Yeah, Jim, can I get your opinion about something? Because it's something that has irked me for a long time, and it's in my greatest hits of things that I complain about. I don't understand why, and a part of it is we just accepted the premise for a long time. It's the way it exists. I'll give you an example. We saw on Sunday, Baker Mayfield, his shin was clearly down. It was a sack, right? And it wasn't called, and they didn't challenge it. The Buccaneers end up scoring a touchdown on that drive. It ends up being a one-score game, and things get really close. Why are the coaches still being asked to officiate the games? Like, why can't we just say, hey, we don't need the challenge system anymore. We've got the eye in the sky that should be able to say, hey, guys, this was a little bit closer than you realize it was. We got to just stop for a second and take a look at it. Why have we not fixed this yet so that we can make sure that we're not asking coaches to say, hey, am I going to need this timeout or not? Like, is it close enough that I might not get it even if I'm right? It just seems almost absurd to me that we're still doing this instead of saying, hey, we've got the technology for it. Let's make sure that we officiate the games with the officials and not ask the coaches to do it anymore.
Yeah, it's a great question, and it's a question that I even asked myself. You've got a tool in replay that is set to correct correctable errors. Why can we do it, and why do we only do it sometimes? And sometimes it seems as though at the most opportune times we don't utilize it because the coach doesn't have a challenge or the coach is too busy or he doesn't get the information. We should be able to do that. We should have that extra set of eyes up in the press box, someone to help these officials out. They certainly do. They all have communication. You know this. They all have earpieces in now, so they're able to communicate amongst themselves. They're able to communicate with New York. The techniques and of what they're doing everything is available for them. They have the ability to do it. They need to kind of utilize the tools that they have, and they should be able to do that. But I don't. They have to say, well, we can only review these certain plays. Well, if you got the tools, fix it. Right. If it's fixable, fix the problem.
Let's get it's almost laughable that we still do the bit where teams like run up to snap the ball in the next play. Like, hey, every time a team does that, maybe we should stop. Maybe we should pause and make sure, because they're clearly not sure that they actually were in bounds on that play. Like, maybe we should stop the game just for – these things shouldn't take 5 minutes. Like, they should just stop and say, hey, within a minute we can tell whether or not we got that thing right, and let's just move on with the game at that point. I don't know. It bothers me a great deal. It bothers me significantly.
Hey, it's all part of the game. At some point, I think they'll get this fixed. They're trying to do more work from up above, but you've got to correct these correctable errors. There's too many obvious ones that whether it's a pass interference or a late hit or an illegal hit, you need to be able to correct those without having to challenge them. You need somebody upstairs that can change this thing to get the thing right, and that's all people are looking for is to get it right.
Doesn't seem like he's asking for a whole lot. Doesn't seem like it. All right, so you're saying the fix is not in. The NFL is not hell-bent on having Taylor Swift at the Super Bowl. This is not anything like that. This is just going to be a football game on Sunday.
Hopefully it's just a great football game with two great teams, and you've got a great crew out there that I think are going to be very fair and handle this game as professionally as possible.
All right. I'll be inclined to believe you. Jim Daopoulos, really appreciate you taking the time for us this morning, sir. Let's talk again real soon, all right?
My pleasure, guys. Have a great day.
You believe him? Or you turn it now? You're
taking the Chiefs.
Yeah, you're going the other way. Yeah.
Now our podcast that we're starting. This is what's wrong with this is what's wrong with our country.
Right. That's right. I forgot we were doing that. Andrew Steck offered to produce it.
We should definitely do it because I
shouldn't support.
I have another first entry.
Oh yeah.
I have a bunch of first entries of like opening show topics.
Okay, this is the problem. Is that in theory I'm okay with it until I hear your first one and then I say I'm canceling the podcast. So here's what we're gonna do. We're going to take a break.
Well, let me just tell you what it is.
No. We're going to take a break,
all right,
and we'll come back, and you can tell me what the idea is,
okay.
And based on that, I'll tell you whether we're doing the podcast or not.
Well, I'm going to tell you right now. This
is
what's
you're
wrong
not.
No, I'm just saying when we come back, I'm going to tell you this is one of the things. This is what's wrong with our country. You want to know why our country is eroded? I'll tell you why next.
I'm very worried about where this is about to go.
You'll see.
We'll give it a shot.
It's unarguable.
GCR.
Hey, it's Jeremy Kahn. This postseason, bet in person at the Green Turtle Bet Park Sportsbooks with locations in Canton and in Towson, and enjoy the best in-class sports wagering experience at their state-of-the-art facilities, bringing an unmatched sports betting thrill.
Gambling can be a fun and entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning on betting on the game at the casino or on your phone or computer, know your limit, stay within it. Set a budget and a time to stop. Remember, gambling isn't a financial solution, and it doesn't mix well with alcohol or drugs. Know the risks and have a plan before you begin gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org.
Make the most out of every day in your Toyota RAV4. Available in hybrid or gas-only models. A RAV4 can get you where you want to go in style. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new RAV4s from your local Toyota dealer today.
There's so much focus on sports betting these days, but I want to talk about an area that nobody wants to gamble on, where you choose to go out and spend your hard-earned dollars to eat. The Costas Inn is no gamble at all. The quality on their menu is outstanding, and the value is off the charts with a great and varied list of specials Monday through Friday. And the staples of the menu, whether it's salads, burgers, fish, they're all fantastic. And I haven't even mentioned the crabs or crab cakes yet. So check out the menu for yourself at CostasInn.com. When choosing a place to dine, never gamble on the food you put in your belly. The Costas Inn at 4100 North Point Boulevard, or call 410-477-1975 for reservations and your steamed crab orders.
6 chicken tenders made from fresh, never frozen Royal Farms world-famous chicken, a family-sized order of Western fries, honey mustard dipping sauce, and a 2-liter bottle of Dr. Pepper. It's Royal Farms' new Tucker's Tenders Meal. It's Justin Tucker's favorite, and at only $19.99, it'll be your favorite meal, too. The new Tucker's Tenders Meal, available only at Royal Farms. Now you can kick back, relax, and eat like a champion. Real fresh, real fast, Royal Farms.
What company has the expertise to make your home healthier by purifying your air and killing all viruses, allergens, and bacteria? A.J. Michaels, Heating and Air Conditioning in Baltimore and Annapolis, ajmichaels.com.
Hungry? With 7 locations throughout Maryland, Glory Days Grill is always right around the corner. They have wings, burgers, salads, sandwiches, and drinks to satisfy everyone, as well as tons of televisions and sound delivered right to your phone. Whether you're a Ravens fan or rooting for one of those other guys, Glory Days is the best place to watch football or whatever your favorite sport is. While you're there, be sure to check out Goose Flight's Lager, named in honor of legendary Raven Tony Goose Siragusa. $2 of every can is donated to the Goose Flights Foundation. Glory Days Grill. Great food, good sports.
Don't forget about Project Game Day after every Ravens game this season. It's kind of like this show, except Rita's also there, so I actually think it's pretty good. But hey, you're already here now, so why don't you go ahead and keep listening to GCR?
Yeah, Griffin, what's going on at Live Casino and Hotel?
This week at Live, you need to check out Sports and Social at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland, which features an on-site FanDuel location, and it is your ultimate spot to watch Baltimore's team in the big game this weekend on the massive 100-foot media wall. Order up your favorite game day bites, take a sip from our signature crushes and extensive beer selections, all just steps away from the FanDuel Sportsbook. So watch, wager, and win at Sports and Social at Live Casino in Hotel Maryland. Adderall Mills, must be 21. Please play responsibly. For help, visit mdgamblinghelp.org. or call 1-800-GAMBLE.
All right, so Drew had the idea last time we were together about starting a podcast. Well, I don't know. He just said that's what's wrong in this country. I don't know where that came. We had a podcast thought.
I mean, don't you see something every day and you say to yourself, this is the problem with this place?
I definitely feel that significantly, yes.
And what we do as a country now is we ignore that. And we ignore it because we don't want to hurt anyone's feelings.
Okay, but that's where I worry. I worry about what your direction is with this.
My direction is for us to just sit around and have an honest conversation and say this is why we are where we are. And if your feelings get hurt, maybe you should fix it.
All right, let me.
So we do that all the time.
Let me see where you go with this.
This is the difference between a 60-year-old and a 35-year-old.
I'm not 35. I wish. God,
What are
I
you?
wish. I'm 40.
Are you really?
Yeah, I'm 40.
Holy hell.
Yeah.
You're old.
Yeah, I am. 100%.
But this is what we've done in this country. We've refused to be honest with one another.
Okay, but I don't think that you're gonna like the honesty sometimes. Like
that's correct.
No, but I mean, like I don't think would like the honesty sometimes.
I don't care.
I think there are some things that really aren't a problem, but we'll talk about it.
I think this would be a great podcast. I think you could make a lot of money.
All right,
I'd do it free.
I
just want to say these
give
things.
it a shot.
I'll tell you one of the things that's wrong with this country for sure. When a ball gets thrown in your direction and you don't catch it and you get up and you throw that effing imaginary flag, it drives me insane.
Okay.
And you should be penalized for trying to dupe the refs.
Okay. So can we talk about it?
Absolutely.
Can we talk about it?
Yep. You're a heinous individual.
What about the flip side of it? What about the number of times that there is an obvious pass interference that doesn't go called until that guy? Where's
the problem? You've coaxed the call,
but it's obvious.
No. If it were obvious, he'd have called it.
Drew, you've seen this before.
I've seen it before.
I've seen
too many times.
I would agree that
these nitwits get up and throw the imaginary flag.
I agree that it's disproportionate.
You just catch it. Stop reffing the game.
I agree that it's disproportionate. I agree with you on that.
What's wrong with this country?
But it's part of the problem is
everybody wants to dupe someone.
Well, you know what? We actually agree on that.
Right.
I can't believe we're getting there.
Right.
But you and I agree that there is a huge that we believe it's problem solving used to be a thing. Now, the idea of problem solving is just break the law. Just get around just skirt the rules. That's how you problem solve.
Everybody wants to dupe someone.
Correct. It's just commit fraud.
I saw a kid yesterday at Panera who went into the bathroom. This is disgusting. Went into the bathroom, reached into the trash can, picked up a plastic cup, put it under the freaking fountain, under the faucet in the thing, turned the hot water on, cleaned the cup out. I said to him, "Hey, Chief, I'll give you $2. I'll go buy you a soda."
It's really, really gross to think about that, but
correct.
I don't know what the circumstances are.
I know what the circumstances are.
Don't know
You're
that.
trying to dupe Panera out of a drink.
Understand that. I don't know if this is somebody that has. I don't want to go there. I don't want to go there. I like that one.
Then said, "I will go buy you a drink."
That. Yes, I appreciate that.
And I went and got a drink, and I put the cup down on his table rather firmly and said, "Go get yourself a drink."
Thoughtful of you. So
stop trying to dupe Panera.
I agree that we have a problem with that. I agree. That is one of the problems in this country. In fact, it's
one of the things that's wrong. It's why we've gone downhill.
It's how you become president anymore.
There's an argument. We can sit here and you want to talk about what's wrong with the country. We can sit here and talk about that for 5 hours.
Yeah, I don't really want to do that part of it. But yes, in general, trying to dupe.
But that is part of it.
What do you mean?
It does start at the top. That is part of the problem.
Yes, if the people that are championed or the people that are best at grifting are the best at lying, then yeah, that's going to be the type of thing that's going to.
The day these goofs get in, the very next day they say, "All I'm worried about now is getting back in again." They should be in for X amount of years. Period. Full stop. You're a congressman. You're in for 10 years. When your 10 years is up, you're done.
Can't believe we agree about that.
When you're the president, you get 7 years. That's it. Period.
It's by 7.
It's a nice round number. You get 7 years, and that's all you get. And then you're done.
I'm going to push back on 7. I don't like 7 at all. Odd numbers are no good.
Whatever.
We don't
6,
do odd
then,
numbers
5.
in this country.
Pick a number.
Well, 5's still an odd number.
But see, here's the problem. It takes
5.
you a
It's
while to get things going. You know why? Because everybody's working against you. So it takes you a year or two to get your chakras in line when you're the president, because the rest of these goofs all spend 2 years trying to tear you down. And then you only have 3 or 4 years. Give them 7 years. And if you want to do some midterm vote of confidence, go ahead. But this is what's wrong. It does start at the top. You could make millions doing this.
All right.
Because we're the most sensible. We might be the 2 most sensible people in the world.
I think. Well, let's ease up on all.
Well,
that.
I might be. I
think we need to zero it in a little bit more. I think the problem is
one of the problems is these creeps that act like they throw a penalty.
Okay, right. So we started there, and it basically went to everything. Like we started hyper focused on the receivers that get up looking for a flag, and then all of a sudden it went
now we're the congressman.
Everyone everywhere is a bad person.
Well, did you hear what Interpol said? Everything is wrong.
It's true. It's a great point. That is.
You heard that song?
I did 100%. I tend to agree with you.
That ought to be. That's the second part of the show.
Yeah, right. It's just listening to
Chapter
Interpol.
2. Everything is wrong.
You know what? Here we go. I can't believe I'm agreeing with you.
We'll come back for the second part of what's wrong with the world. What's wrong with our country. Everything's wrong.
So I am inclined to agree with you about the guys getting up asking for flags but it comes with the caveat of.
Well, baseball umpires are next.
We've been through the baseball umpires.
We got four shows worth of baseball umpires.
Their skin is
the guy
thinner
who
than
threw
Kleenex.
Riamato out
Yes,
in the preseason should never be allowed to umpire
we
again.
Actually 100% agree about that. We 100% agree.
Right.
Here's my issue with these guys.
All right.
Is that they miss the calls a lot too.
Well, they're supposed to. They got to keep the game close. And there's another problem.
There's a good point. Okay, where are you? Oh God, I'm gonna
All right,
regret
go
doing this.
No,
it's
you're not.
12:09. We still have to take another commercial
plenty
break.
of time. We're here
you
till
said
2.
it. No, not really.
We got a 4-hour show.
I'm
today.
gonna regret this.
No, you won't, because I'm going to tell you the truth.
The fumble through the end zone thing.
It's the dumbest thing in the history of sports.
This is the problem. Is I've always said that, but now that you say it, I think I might have to go the other way.
It's stupid.
No, the number of hipster doofuses that have tried to fight about this. Like, it used to be that 100% of people knew that it was the worst rule.
It's so dumb.
In the last 2 years, like 30% of the country has decided, because you guys all feel this way, I have to be a contrarian. I have to say something asinine the other way.
Because, again, this is what's wrong with the country.
Right.
Everyone has to have a hot take, and they can't just say, you know what, you're right, Gilligan's Island was a great show.
You know what? I do agree about that.
I'm
Gilligan's
just
Island
saying,
was
like,
a great show.
Instead of
You're
you
right about
arguing
that.
about
Right.
who's hotter, Marianne or Ginger,
Right.
we all know it was Ginger. That doesn't mean that
wait a second, there was something to be said for Marianne.
That doesn't mean that Marianne might not have been more suitable for you.
Okay,
but
fair
Ginger
enough.
was prettier, and she just was. Now, to go back to what we were talking about, when you fumble the ball out of the end zone, should there be some sort of penalty for that? Yeah, maybe.
Okay, part, it's so funny.
Maybe you lose 5 yards. Maybe you lose 10 yards.
The argument I heard
but
from
to
some
give
people,
the ball to the other team
Right.
is stupid.
The argument I heard from some people is you go back to the original line of scrimmage on that play and you lose the down, right? And I said, I'm not even really sure why there has to be a penalty. Why does there have to be a penalty for fumbling through the end? Nobody got the ball.
Okay, but hold on. If you're on the 3-yard line,
Yes.
and you scamper over to the corner cone and you fumble the ball and it goes out of bounds into the end zone, I don't have a problem if you say that's a 5-yard penalty.
But why? Because
you fumbled the ball.
Right, but you fumbled the ball in the middle of the field.
But
and
you
it goes,
fumbled the ball and no one was able to retrieve
right,
it.
We have that happen all the time during the in the
I
field of play.
understand that. And so, again, if you want to change the rule to say if you fumble the ball out of bounds, period,
right.
you lose 5 yards. I might be okay with that. I might be. But I'm not. Here's what I'm not in favor of: the other team getting the ball.
No, that's insane.
It's the dumbest thing
It's
I've ever heard.
Insanity.
All
You
right,
didn't
what's
do
next?
anything.
Give me another one to chew on.
The playoff teams, if you go 8, the winning the division should not guarantee you a home playoff game.
100% agree. Idiotic. Completely idiotic. The team with the better record should always host the first playoff game.
I can't believe
Period,
how much we're
full
agreeing.
stop.
This is really concerning.
But again, this is what we do. We come up with a way to make sure we satiate and completely satisfy people so their feelings don't get hurt.
How does that ruin the country? That the 4 seed.
You
is
have
8-9.
Trust me, there
It's
is
a slippery slope. It is. It's
we're
a slippery
gonna connect
slope
the dots here
Yeah.
if you give us
no,
10
no, no.
minutes.
It's a good point. You
All right,
start.
you're right.
You start with that, then we just accept that anything that's objectively worse can actually be better, and then we start
And
comparing.
we're
it to
always
other
figuring
things.
out a way to make it okay to lose. It's okay that you went 8-9. You still get a home playoff game. And so that is what's wrong with the country. Instead of saying, I got news for you. You're 8-9. You made the playoffs. You're lucky. And you're going to have to go play at San Francisco. I'm sorry.
That's the
They
way
went
it goes,
11-6.
right.
You went 8-9. You're lucky to be in the playoffs, you rat finks. And you can't say that to them because they get their feelings hurt.
No, but wait a second.
And we can't have that.
Wait a second. I'm not sure that's about hurting their feelings in this instance. I hear you in general. I'm not sure this one uniquely is about hurting their feelings. I think it's just they're trying to force the idea that the division games are so meaningful because they want to be able to charge more money.
You went
for the division
8-9.
games. Right, correct. And what I would say is
Didn't happen this year, though, right?
no, they went
Tampa
9-8.
went
Tampa
9-8.
went 9-8. They
It
went
could have
9-8.
happened that 3 of them went 8-9.
But in fairness, 9-8 still shouldn't have been hosting a playoff game.
Seattle went 7-9 one year and beat New Orleans.
Correct, exactly right. That was the Marshawn Lynch game.
Right.
But they still shouldn't have been hosting the playoff. Even at 9-8, they weren't. I get it.
Correct.
The Eagles ended up stinking. I understand that.
But Tampa should have been in Philly.
Correct. Or they should have been
Wherever.
the
Whatever-
7th seed, and they
whatever
should have been
the-
at Dallas because Dallas was
whatever
the 2
the-
seed,
right,
right?
however it worked.
Whatever your record should be what decides. You then take the teams by the record, you rank them. If you're the 6th seed, then you go to the 3 seed. If you're the whatever it is, that's the way it should go. You want to say division winner is guaranteed a playoff spot? Fine. I don't
Totally agree.
You give 7 playoff spots, right? Like I have no real beef with the 7th one going to a division winner that might not be that good. In fact, didn't the Packers get in at 9-8 too?
Yes.
So
in the wild card.
Yeah, I mean, like,
but
come
that
on.
is what it is.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, that kind of is what it is. Somebody's got to get in.
Agreed.
But
Agreed.
for Tampa Bay to get in at 9-8
and then be allowed to host
Eagles,
a playoff game
comical.
just because we've decided, hey, you were the best of this crappy group of 4 teams.
A joke.
Stop.
Right.
Nonsense. And they were barely even the best. They weren't even really the best. They were best by a tiebreaker. So, no, the playoff team should never. Now, what about the officials officiating the games?
Well, you know how I feel about that. I would say this. The officiating in the NFL is far, far better than we all give it credit for. It's an incredibly difficult game to officiate.
That. Yes.
That said, there should never be an occasion when an obvious missed call isn't called, like Baker Mayfield the other day with his shin on the ground. I'm not talking about the play in the Ravens-Jacksonville game that Terry McCauley kept insisting beyond insisting that it was a touchdown. No, sir, it wasn't. But that play, and the reason I say no, sir, it wasn't is it was too close to adjudicate. That guy's shin was on the ground the other day.
Everyone could see that.
That was a no-brainer.
Everyone could see that was a bad call. Everyone
right. So,
in the moment.
I just, and here's their argument, and baseball has clearly done this. We want the games to be over more quickly because, here's another thing wrong with our country, no one can pay attention. And you see that every day when you drive. So now we can start talking about that next.
We just went from football to driving. By the way, we do. You know what? I can't believe I'm agreeing with you. It is reckless.
No one can drive because you're not paying attention. You know why you're not paying attention? Because you're looking at your phone.
So there is that. We are running red lights at a rate that we have never run
because
before.
We're not paying attention.
It's a little bit because we're not paying attention. I go a different way on this one. We all think we're the star of the show.
Correct.
We
got to get there.
We're
of
the
course.
main. Our thing.
I have to get there.
Our thing
That's another
is
thing wrong
more
with the
important
country.
than everyone else's thing. That to me, I've said it before. That's a social media thing. That's social media has convinced
at me.
us.
Francis Chan says we're the only country in the world who posts pictures of themselves to say, look at me.
We're the star of the show. Everything that we're doing is more important than what you're doing. What you're doing, sorry, go screw.
I got to get there.
If I'm putting everybody else at risk and danger, it's worth it because what I'm doing is more important.
That's another thing wrong with the country. Now we got a show. We're close to $1 million. We're close to making $1 million bucks.
Really, I am nervous about how much I've agreed with you.
We're close to making $1 million bucks.
Really nervous.
And I'm going to say, having now traveled last week in and out of airports, not to borrow anything from the great Bill Burr, but Bill Burr is right about the traveling issue. I had A14 the other day. I didn't get on the plane for 45 minutes.
Oh, well, they definitely go through
it's unbelievable.
Yeah, right? Like
He's exactly right.
All right, if you're in
military,
if you're in the platinum group, if you're in the double platinum group,
if you're a family, come on board. This guy and his wife brought 6 kids on the plane, and the one kid was like 17 years old.
Okay, all right. Now wait a second. I'm going to have to push back about that. They do that after the A group. You're lying.
No, I don't think they did it to me.
I just flew.
I don't think they did it to me.
I just flew from Fort Lauderdale.
I think they said something like if your kid's got braces, he goes on first.
So,
but those kids went on first.
But kindly, my parents wanted to take the family on a Disney cruise, right? Which, again, they could have taken the kids. They took us. Fine, whatever.
Right.
We've got to fly back from Fort Lauderdale.
That's where I was.
We get off the boat on Friday morning at like 9 a.m. We're off the boat.
There's a lot of people getting off of boats these days. That's another thing wrong with the country.
And I see we were doing so well. We were doing so well.
That's another thing.
We were doing so well right up until that moment.
But that is.
Stop it. The flight was not scheduled until like 6 o'clock at night.
Okay.
Well, I got 2 kids. I'm not. And bags. I'm not Ubering around Fort Lauderdale for a day.
Right.
All we can do is go to the airport.
Right.
That's all. Our only
for 6
option
hours.
is to go to the airport. Then we find out if you're checking bags, you can't check your bags
until 3 hours before.
Until 3 hours before the flight. So now, not only we can't even go in and
here's the worst thing: you can't leave them anywhere.
Correct.
If you leave them somewhere, they get confiscated.
100%.
And you got to go talk to somebody.
So all we can do is just sit in like the main.
Thanks a lot, Bin Laden.
Yeah, you know what? Thanks a lot, Bin Laden.
Right.
I can't believe that we're agreeing.
We can't leave our bags anywhere anymore.
Right. So thankfully, blessings be.
And this is why Live Golf it sucks.
Yeah, you know what? Look at what we did here.
Right.
Look at what we did here. So I go on the little machine and I find out, good news, there's a 1:30 flight. Well, we'll get on that flight, right? Like, no problem. I've solved all of our issues. There's a 1:30 flight and there's spots left on it. We'll get on that flight. In fact, I paid like $1 in order to move flights. It was wonderful. Manna from heaven, right? Until I remember that everybody checked in 24 hours earlier for that flight.
And you're C-54.
And now I'm C-50 with 2 kids. So I got to tell you, I'm going to push back on your complaints about the family boarding because, and I even said this, you want to complain about my family boarding? You get to sit next to my 6-year-old.
Well, that could be.
All right.
That could be a.
All right.
That could be a legitimate.
You want to complain about family boarding? By all means, he's yours. You deal with him.
We left Saturday morning at 6:30 to fly home. We were supposed to leave Friday night. We got snowed in. Saturday morning, I go to leave, and behind me is a father and his 6-year-old son.
Okay.
And in the row to the left was the mother and the 8-year-old son. The 6-year-old son, the entire 2.5 hours from Fort Lauderdale.
Kicking?
The entire.
Kicking the back?
I want to go back.
Oh, yeah.
I want to go back.
Yep.
I want to go back.
A lot of that.
I want to go back and kick in my chair.
You don't want me to get on the plane before you? Your problem.
And
you deal with
and kick
it.
in my chair.
Yep.
So I never say a word.
Yep.
I never say one word.
Yep.
I just read I'm reading The Alchemist, which is a great book. I'm reading this book. I'm trying not to flare up. And we land, and the dude walks up to me as we're walking by, and he goes, "Hey, man, you hung in there like a trooper. I'm proud of you, or I'm happy. I'm sorry that happened, but I'm proud of you or something." And then I punch him right in the face. No, I said, "Dude, it's all good. I had a 6-year-old."
Everybody's been there.
I totally get it.
Again, I can see people.
But that is what's wrong with the country.
I could see
you can't
people
control your kid.
They were giving me the eye when we went to get on the plane, and all I wanted to say back was,
"You sit with him.
Go ahead." You have no idea. You're telling me I can sit in a middle seat somewhere and get a nap on this flight.
And you sit with my kid?
And you sit with my kid?
Who's climbing
Done.
on the wing?
Done.
Right, who's opening the door in
Correct.
mid-flight.
He's created the
Like
Alaska Airlines flight. Done.
Hey, what happened to little Clark kid?
Yeah, he's out there on the wing. I'm telling you, you go right ahead. You take my spot in boarding. I'll take yours.
How long was Ted Lasso? 3 years? It was 3 seasons.
Yeah.
We could do this for 3 years. We have enough material.
No, it just happened here. Well, you attacked family boarding. We disagree about that. By the way, I tell you what's a bigger problem. Family boarding allegedly cuts off at 6. Imagine.
6 years old?
Yes.
Oh.
Imagine next year my 7-year-old being told, like, sorry, you can't get on the plane before everybody else, and we've got C-50.
Don't you agree, though? Bill Burr says this. I don't disagree with this. Don't you agree? You got to have seen active duty to be.
You know what? I don't disagree. There is. God, oh man, I'm gonna.
Bill Burr always says.
I'm gonna regret this one.
Have you seen Gunfire?
The number of people that are in wheelchairs that you look at and you say you're fine. You're fine.
Right.
You just know, Griffin. Whatever you just did made everything a lot worse.
Okay.
So
anyway,
everything was fine up until you started messing with the thing.
There's a lot of things
now
wrong with this country.
It got dramatically worse.
My headphones were going out, and Drew, I think, was messing with it a little bit.
I didn't touch it.
I don't know.
No, well, you were messing with one of the wires. Anyway,
I didn't touch anything.
All right, that's a taste.
Anyway,
that's a taste. That's what's wrong with this country.
And here's the last thing that's wrong.
No.
No.
We were doing well.
I'm good. No. I'm gonna put a bow on this. What's wrong with the country is we're not willing to talk about what's wrong with the country. We are. You and I are. You know what we are? Frontiersmen.
Frontiersmen.
No. No one wants to talk about what's wrong with the country because they're afraid. Because people's feelings are going to get hurt.
I have felt more and more of this in recent years, that there needs to be more and more.
Because you're older and you're wiser,
yeah,
and you've seen it materialize.
I felt a little bit more of it.
24-year-old Glenn Clark would
say
don't hurt my feelings.
There's still a line.
40-year-old Glenn Clark says you deserve to have your feelings get hurt.
There's still a line. There's a few things
I don't think
that we'd end up disagreeing about. We'd end up having problems with, but that wasn't bad. All right, we come back.
Millions.
We'll get. I don't know
millions.
About millions. Would you show up on time?
I don't even. That's part of the. See, there you go.
Well, you don't show up on time. I get that. That's what's wrong with this country.
Correct.
Supposed to do a show at 10 o'clock. You come wheeling in at 10:06.
That was 03 or 04.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, pretty much.
You sure?
But I want to give you a few minutes to get your
to do what?
Wheels oiled.
Yeah. Okay. Is that a euphemism? Like, I don't think we do that here.
You might need your wheels oiled a little.
I think Till gets his wheels oiled down in Sarasota.
Yeah. No, Fort Lauderdale.
Yeah. All right, we'll come back in. Tidbit and two to wrap it up. Go ahead. Goodbye. Drew's Morning Dish. By the way, thank you for making the headphones dramatically worse. It's painful now.
It's
painful.
Not. I swear, whatever's going.
Oh my
God! You better find somebody that you can sell this to.
All right.
We're starting.
Drew'sMorningDish.com is a website. It does.
That is my website. Drew'sMorningDish.com.
All right. You can find out about golf. We'll hope to fix the headphones
and Ravens
at some point. Glenn Clark Radio. Why bet with the big boys this football season? Instead, try your hand with the local book, Superbook Sports, this fall. Superbook Sports is the book next door. Just a dedicated team of the best odds makers in Las Vegas, making sure you get the best prices and parlays anywhere. And now, Superbook will give you a bonus of up to $250 when you sign up and wager on the same day and use the promo code GlennClark23, GLENNCLARK23. So bet with the best and use the promo code GlennClark23 this football season with Superbook Sports. Visit superbook.com for terms and conditions. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
There's so much focus on sports betting these days, but I want to talk about an area that nobody wants to gamble on, where you choose to go out and spend your hard-earned dollars to eat. The Costas Inn is no gamble at all. The quality on their menu is outstanding, and the value is off the charts with a great and varied list of specials Monday through Friday. And the staples of the menu, whether it's salads, burgers, fish, they're all fantastic. And I haven't even mentioned the crabs or crab cakes yet. So check out the menu for yourself at CostasInn.com. When choosing a place to dine, never gamble on the food you put in your belly. The Costas Inn at 4100 North Point Boulevard, or call 410-477-1975 for reservations and your steamed crab orders.
What company has the expertise to make your home healthier by purifying your air and killing all viruses, allergens, and bacteria? A.J. Michaels, Heating and Air Conditioning in Baltimore and Annapolis, ajmichaels.com.
Whether your focus is luxury and comfort, convenience and technologically advanced connectivity, or sporty performance and aggressive styling, we've got the perfect Highlander for you. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Highlanders from your local Toyota dealer today.
The latest edition of Pressbox is available now, and it's our very special annual Best Of issue. On the cover, we celebrate Orioles manager Brandon Hyde as our Mo Gabba Sports Person of the Year, and the Orioles as our Team of the Year, with Stan the Fan Charles and Glenn Clark sitting down with Hyde to discuss his role in creating the culture that defined the Orioles' magic season. Also inside, we recognize the top people, performances, and moments of 2023. Pressbox is available for free at over 500 area locations, including 60 Royal Farm stores, and you can always find the entire edition as well as the best daily coverage of the Ravens, Terps, and O's at PressBoxOnline.com.
Hey Ravens fans, looking for the perfect new game day brew? Get a Guilford, Baltimore's finest craft beer during the next home game at the Bank. That's not all. Gather your flock next home game and check out Guilford Hall Brewery's brand new bar, the Gilly Nest, located near Section 505. No tickets? No problem. Enjoy all Ravens games all season long at our restaurant and brewery in Station North. Guilford Hall Brewery, European tradition, Baltimore charm.
Sure, Glenn may be in his 40s now, but he looks just as good as he ever has, and he's still as sharp as he ever was. And I say both those things without even a shred of irony. Find out for yourself right now by watching the show at facebook.com/PressBoxSports or youtube.com/PressBoxOnline.
All right, winding down for a Wednesday edition of the program. I think the last one for Would You Rather Wednesday, by the way, was going to be that you can get a guarantee the Ravens will win Sunday, but you have to consume 30 Uncrustables in one day.
Oh, yeah, easy.
That's what I was afraid of with you. What would be the number?
Of Uncrustables that I wouldn't be able to consume?
Yeah. Be 60.
I'm thinking, yeah, I'd probably have to.
Because wasn't that the story 60. That like the number was that the Ravens consumed 30 to 60 Uncrustables in a day? I'm like that. There's like
as a team.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Like that doesn't.
Like less than.
Like there was this thing going on. Like all over the internet, like the Ravens consume an ungodly amount of Uncrustables, and I was like, do they?
30 a person, maybe? Like that would be, that'd be ridiculous. Obviously.
I mean, look, you're a child. I mean, I do have to keep that in mind. Like, I'm not eating 30. Like, I'm a direct no.
Uncrustables are great.
First of all, they're not. And by the way,
I mean, yeah, they're not good for you.
They're one, they're not good for you. Two, this would show up in the next segment of this.
That I enjoy Uncrustables.
No, that this is how much children we are. We can't eat crust. Like we're adults and we can't eat crust. We're toddlers. That's what you do when you're 2. We have created a product for 2-year-olds, but given it to adults. Like, hey, do you want to be 2 years old again?
I made myself a peanut butter and jelly every day for high school for lunch.
When I was broke, when I was your age and was working my first job and I had no money. I remember when I moved out to Arizona, I was dead broke.
Oh, man, now I want a peanut butter and jelly.
Dead broke. And I remember joking about it with like my boss at the time at the at CBS Radio in Phoenix. He was like, how things going? Because I hadn't been able to find like a second gig yet or anything to supplement my income. I only had the radio income at the time. And he was like, well, how's things going here? And I was like, Like, it's a struggle. I'm just still getting used to everything and figuring everything out. And he said something like, well, do you work anywhere else? And I'm like, no, not yet. I don't really know anybody around here. I want to go work at Best Buy. Like, I'd like to get an actual gig that would have some value. And I said, but you know what the good news is? I can handle being broke. Like, ramen noodles and peanut butter and jelly for every meal. I'm all right with that. Like, I can
looking forward to meals, you know.
Yeah, I can do that. I can live. Like, it's really not the end of the world to me to be broke. So, yeah, that's I understand that, but the Uncrustable thing is a bad bit. Like, everybody's like, "Oh, it's magical." Like, no, it's not. No, it's not. Peanut butter and jelly sandwiches are just fine. You're a toddler that wants to go back to a time in your life where your mother would cut your crust off your sandwich. Buck up.
I don't think she did. Well, I guess she probably did at some point, but
probably did.
Not maybe like very early. When I was
so
a toddler.
We would leave the two pieces of bread. The
end and the two ends.
Yeah, the two ends. God, we're all toddlers. Every single one of us
those
is
are
toddler.
disgusting. I mean,
they're fine.
They're crust.
Fine.
It's not.
They're not because it's not hard. It's just it's fine. The most of it is still bread. It's just the top layer of it. It's fine. Everything about it is fine.
You use the rest of the loaf. It's fine to not use
children.
two ends.
We're children.
They're not even big pieces of bread either, so they're not like.
We are children.
The
Ravens eat. I'll get there. The Ravens eat. The Ravens.
Right,
this is how USA Today read it. The Ravens eating an unhinged amount of Uncrustables. An unhinged amount of Uncrustables. And the number is
as a team,
30 to 60 Uncrustables a day. Which again, there's like 80 guys.
So it's not even one a person.
What is unhinged about that?
Half of that's probably the video guy or whatever.
I mean, like, what am I missing here? Like, what? I get it. Nothing matters anymore. Nothing has meaning. We just say words. They don't mean. I understand that that's who we are as a society, but like the way the internet ran with this 7,500, like, because when you hear the number 7,500 Uncrustables, that seems like a lot. But then you start doing the math, and you're like, wait, that's really not that many. All you're saying is some Ravens players like Uncrustables. Like, okay.
If they could tell us which players are eating.
Yeah, if there's
one guy
10
players or
right,
5
that's
players,
eating all of them,
yeah.
and that's true, because there undoubtedly are some guys that don't eat Uncrustables. So, like, we might get, if we did a deeper dive and found out that, like, Patrick Queen has 6 Uncrustables a day, then, like, okay, now we're talking.
Even that, though, is like.
Yeah, it's not outrageous, but, like, it's weird. It would be a thing. We would talk about it.
Chicken or something? Or?
Right. And, like, we would have a conversation. The team eating 30 to 60 a day.
Also, 30 to 60 is such a.
Yeah, like a big disparity. Is it 30 or is it 60? How does that math work? If it's 30, it's not even a half an Uncrustable per person. It's not an outrageous number. Unhinged was the USA Today. Once upon a time, a newspaper of record in this country. The USA Today said an unhinged amount of Uncrustables.
Yeah, now I'm worried, like, how much research did they, like,
None.
were they just, like, did they talk to the Uncrustable people and were like, yeah, we send a shipment out to, the Ravens once a month?
This came from ESPN and a story that the Baltimore Banner did where they talked to the nutrition specialist from the Ravens about how much, they eat granola bars or they eat, like, this number.
Yeah, and some guys need sugar. Like,
and they came away with this, like, 7,500 Uncrustables number, and they're like, wow, that sounds big. Because, again, when you just see that number, it sounds big. But then you realize that a football season starts in July, and now here we are, and in July, there's 100 dudes on the team. 100 in July. In September, there's still, if you include the practice squad, over, like, 65. Then you injure guys, all that sort of stuff. We're still talking about 70. And, yes, correct. Are the coaches getting in on the snacks, too? Like, we are such a stupid.
But yes,
Drew's
I would
right.
easily eat. I have to eat 30 a day.
30 a day
until the Super Bowl.
I don't believe you could do that. I think we just figured out what our Super Bowl side bet's going to be.
30 Uncrustables.
Just figured out what it's going to be.
I could do it. Yeah.
That would be. I think I did the math that it was 200 calories per Uncrustable.
Oh my God.
So you'd be looking at what 6,000 calories.
All right, so
I don't think I can do it.
Eat an Uncrustable. Run around the building. Eat an Uncrustable.
If the Ravens win the Super Bowl, will you eat 30 Uncrustables?
I mean,
I think we would still be in Las Vegas. The plan is, by the way, for Griffin and I go to Las Vegas. It's not. That's the plan.
Really?
That's the plan. Things can change at any moment.
Yeah, all
any
right.
moment.
All right, yeah, if we're in Vegas,
we
I'll
don't.
do it. Yeah.
If the Ravens win the Super Bowl, the day after the Super Bowl, will you eat 30 Uncrustables?
Of course.
Grocery store access ain't great in Las Vegas. It's like the worst place to be to try to get. Maybe we do it the first show back.
Okay.
Maybe it's the first show back. You eat 30 Uncrustables.
Not in the show. Well,
I'll give you the day, but it's got to be a day
I'll
that like we
document
can
it.
have a
Yeah,
camera on you or
Right,
something like
right.
that. We got to be able to find a way to make a bit out of it. Maybe the Friday after the Super Bowl, because it's not like we're past the parade and everything.
Yeah.
You celebrate with a 30 Uncrustable day.
I'm
or
at the
something
parade
like
eating
that.
Uncrustables.
That would actually be great. Let's see if we get a deal. Let's work on that. All right, Tidbit is brought to you today by the print issue of Pressbox, which is available still at your neighborhood Royal Farms. They have the hundreds of locations around town where you find Pressbox. You can read it all, PressBoxOnline.com. It's our best of issue of Pressbox. Hey, speaking of Pressbox, a really neat moment yesterday as the Baltimore Orioles announced that their Pressbox would be renamed for our friend Mr. Jim Henneman. It will forever be the Jim Henneman Pressbox, which is awesome. Jim Henneman has been such a special part not only of us here at Pressbox, but obviously of the history of Camden Yards and Orioles baseball, and just an awesome, awesome tribute to Jim Henneman as they officially renamed the Pressbox the Jim Henneman Pressbox, which is just awesome. So kudos to Henny and to the Orioles for making that decision.
A couple Hall of Fame tidbits. So Adrian Beltre obviously goes in, and he becomes, he already was, one of 12 players with 3,000 hits and 400 home runs in his career. He's one of 12. Can you name their two Orioles?
Well, yeah, Eddie Murray and Cal Ripken.
Correct. Yeah. It's going to be all the guys that you expect. So I wasn't going to make you do this one because I had another one. But do you want to try to go through the rest?
All
12. So 9 more.
Well, one of them is
Beltre.
He was the 12th. So
yeah, so 9 more.
Correct. Yeah. Okay. The funny part is like you know all the home run guys off the top of your head, but then I actually start to struggle with the
3,000.
Right? Like I actually start to go the other way. 3,000 hits and 400 home runs.
Comes from Sarah Langs. That's Slang's Own Sports, by the way.
So, wow. George Brett.
George Brett.
That's the problem is the
Not
hitters
on this
didn't all get the 400 home runs. You know what I mean?
no.
Like, that's where I'm actually struggling with this more than I expected to struggle with it. All right. Carl Yastrzemski.
Carl Yastrzemski is on the list.
How about Ted Williams?
Ted Williams not on the list.
Okay.
George Brett had 317 home runs.
It's a bum. He sucks. Oh God. And this is the funny thing too, because I'm like, well, Alex Rodriguez isn't in.
So they don't have to be Hall of Famers. It's just players
Oh.
with 3,400.
Oh,
so
I
yes,
thought
A-Rod.
they were. So okay, then A-Rod and
A-Rod.
Rafael Palmeiro.
Yep. A-Rod out Rafael Palmeiro. So 3 Orioles, yeah.
Oh, this changes everything now. Pujols.
Yes, Albert Pujols.
Cabrera.
Yes, Miguel Cabrera. The rest, I believe, would be in the Hall.
Oh man, because I don't think Biggio got the 400 home runs.
Ted Williams only had 2,600 hits.
The WAR. I always forget about that.
Biggio not on there.
I don't think Wade Boggs got the 400 home runs. Tony Gwynn didn't get the 400 home runs. Molitor?
No.
Didn't get the 400 home
no.
runs. Dave Winfield?
Dave Winfield, yes.
Okay.
3,100 hits.
How about Rod Carew?
Not Rod Carew.
How about Pete Rose?
Not Pete Rose.
I mean, these aren't home run. They're not home run hitters. That's the problem.
Molitor had 230 home runs.
Willie Mays.
Yes, Willie Mays is on the list. We have 1,
2, right?
Yes,
And
two remaining.
And they got to be They got to be older.
Mm-hmm.
Are they old timey or
Not
just
old-timey,
older?
just older.
Stan Musial.
Stan Musial on the list. One more.
Roberto Clemente.
Not Clemente.
Man. All right. It's 12:40. We got to...
I believe he has the record for most All-Star selections or game appearances. One of those two.
I don't know.
Played like 20. He has like 24 of them. He played once. I'm trying to figure out a way to not give it away.
Most All-Star selections. Most All-Star selections. Most All-Star selections. I don't know.
He was a long time Atlanta Brave.
Hank Aaron?
Hank Aaron on this list.
Gotta be honest, I didn't realize Hank Aaron had 3,000 hits.
Yeah,
I did not realize.
Barry
that.
Bonds he had 2,935.
Yeah. Well, he
hits.
walked so much.
Yeah,
that's the problem. All right, very good, very good. Tidbit was also brought to you today by the Green Turtle. You want to tell everybody what's going on at the Green Turtle?
Green Turtle. Tomorrow, you'll be able to head over to Canton at 11:30. Jeremy Kahn is shooting a commercial with the Green Turtle, and everyone that shows up, because they need extras, will be given a free $10 bets, as well as at the Towson location, because every Thursday in Towson and Canton at the Green Turtle Sportsbook, you get a free $10 bet. You can experience the ultimate destination for game day excitement, great food, and live in-person betting. So go check out the Green Turtle Bet Park Sportsbooks in Towson and Canton. Go pick up your free bet, make some money while enjoying some food and sports. That's tomorrow at the Green Turtle in Towson and Canton. Of course, the commercial starts shooting at 11:30 a.m., and they need people out there.
Very good. Tubular is brought to you by the Stan the Fan Variety Hour. If you missed Stan and Luke earlier this week previewing the AL East, you can find it right now, facebook.com/PressBoxSports. Click on the videos tab, go to youtube.com/PressBoxOnline or PressBoxOnline.com/video. Here's what's coming up tonight, totally tubular-wise. Big Ten Network, Maryland, Iowa at 7 o'clock. Maryland women are at Michigan at 7 o'clock on Big Ten Network Plus. ESPN Plus for Lafayette Loyola at 7, Navy Bucknell at 7. ESPN has the Australian Open women's semifinals. It's a big bummer because they play both. They do a night session for both semifinals like they do with the final. The one, there's a great one, and then there's a not-so-great one. The great one is Coco Gauff Arena Sabalenka. That's wonderful. So you would like that to be the second one, just in case like the first one were to go long, then maybe
You can get up at 5 a.m. 4
right,
a.m.
like or at 6 a.m. something like that. And it's the first one because that was they played on
Tuesday,
Sunday or whatever, Monday. They had the extra day off, so they got to play the first one. So that's the first one, Coco Gauff Arena Sabalenka, which everybody seems to think is just sort of the final, but I would just warn about that. Sabalenka's played better than everybody at the Australian Open, so she would be my pick. We'll see. The second one, Diana Yastremska from the Ukraine going up against Qinwen Zhang from China. So that's overnight, 3:30 a.m. on on ESPN. ESPN tonight has Thunder Spurs at 9:30. ABC has Suns Mavericks at 8:30. Monumental for Timberwolves Wizards at 7. TNT Hurricanes Bruins 7:30. Blackhawks Kraken at 10. Monumental 2 for Capitals Avalanche at 9:30. The Big Ten Hoops tonight. Big Ten Network has Illinois Northwestern at 9. Everything else find at GlennClarkRadio.com as far as college hoops is concerned. The golf, I figured out Jim Nantz could not join us this week because the golf, he's doing both the PGA tournament and
the
AFC Championship game. And they start, because of the championship game, they start this week's tournament on Wednesday.
Gotcha.
They run it Wednesday through Saturday, and then they do the championship game. So Golf Channel today, 3 o'clock for round 1 of the Farmers Insurance Open, and TBS tonight for AEW Dynamite at 8. Non-sports?
Not a whole lot. Snoop Dogg's going to be on Jimmy Kimmel because he has a movie coming out on Friday. It's called The Underdogs.
Sure.
And, what's the movie come out? It's on Netflix, I think. Or no, it's on Prime.
If you say so.
It's on Prime Video. He is former NFL superstar, Jason 2J's Jennings. And,
what?
Yeah. It's made up. It's all fake. It's not real.
I'm like, what?
His nickname is 2J's.
There was somebody that you were telling me about, though, that was like a guest star on something recently, and it was like a really low-end former player. I'm like, what? And so I was wondering if there was actually
Food Channel shows or something.
Something like that, yeah. And you're like, you got to tune in. It's like, what? How bottom of the barrel does it get?
So he has to avoid jail time while getting into a car accident while being high.
It's 12:45. Let's skip this.
All right. So he has to pay community service and coaches a youth football team.
Great. Wonderful.
The underdogs. That is really the only thing.
Okay.
Austin Butler and Kingsley Benadier will be on
promoting Elvis still. I don't.
He's going to be in Masters of Air, which comes out on Apple TV this weekend as well.
If you say
looks
so.
like a good TV show. We'll get into it later, I guess.
Okay.
And then Kingsley Benadier is Bob Marley in the Bob Marley movie.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, I do know Kingsley Benadier. He was in something else too, wasn't he?
Probably.
Because I looked him up because I wanted to know who it was. All right. Very
sorry,
good.
I'm not on top of it.
Don't forget Superbook.com. Download the Superbook app. Use the code GlennClark23 when you sign up. You'll receive up to $250 in a same-day first bet match, win or lose.
Peaky Blinders.
That's exactly what it was. Superbook.com or download the Superbook app. Thanks today to Drew. Thanks to Jim Daopoulos. Thanks also today to Devin McCourty and to Bill Rhoden. We'll get all of it up in the greatest hits section of the
Oh, my God, it's so good.
tab at GlennClarkRadio.com. Sal Powell joins us tomorrow. And
Iron Eagle.
Iron Eagle joins us tomorrow. Love Iron. And we'll make picks for championship weekend as I'm one game back going into with 3 games left. Thanks, everybody at PressBox, all of our great sponsors and partners, Live Casino and Hotel, Mother's North Grill, A.J. Michaels, Guilford Hall Brewery, Royal Farms, Costa Sin, Superbook Sports, Glory Days Grill, your local Toyota dealer, buyatoyota.com. Thanks to Griffin at Griffin_Bass. Follow us, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Glenn Clark Radio. Have a great Wednesday evening. Go Maryland women, Loyola, Navy. Duke sucks. I got to pee.